Hey everyone, we've updated our channel name from Chinese Novel Audio Wave to Chinese Novel Audiobook. Nothing else will be changing. We're still uploading a new video every day, bringing you the best Chinese novel audiobooks. Let's dive into today's story. 021 Fairy Queen, Urza is back. Enemy. Lucy's heart trembled. If Knight hadn't pulled her just now, the huge frying pan in front of her would have fallen on her. No, how can you steal, young wizard? A man with a boiled egg head stood lightly on the long handle of the frying pan, with an upright posture and looking down from a high position. Brother, don't waste time talking to the thief. The voice came from behind. Lucy looked back and saw a tall figure falling from the sky and stomping down on the two of them. Knight pulled Lucy again and easily avoided the sneak attack. With a bang, the foot landed on the ground and stepped out a deep pit. Good reaction, wizard. The tall younger brother had a cross-shaped afro. After missing the attack, he spoke with ease. We are the Panisho brothers of the Mercenary Guild, Southern Wolf. You are just unlucky to meet us. In Knight's eyes, the magic power in the two brothers was weak, and it was estimated that they didn't even have half a heart. You are so arrogant. Can't you even tell the difference between the enemy and us? At this time, Lucy had taken out a bunch of keys from her skirt pocket. She chanted a spell. I am the one who connects the road to the celestial spirit world. You, respond to my call and pass through the door. Open, the gate of Taurus, Taurus. A celestial spirit with a double-edged axe and a bull's head emerged from the golden magic circle. Seeing this scene, the Panishu brothers were all shocked. Celestial spirit wizard, or the zodiac, Taurus, defeat them. Lucy quickly gave the order. Taurus moved, and before he could get mad at his master, he jumped up, took off the double-edged axe on his back, and swung it at the two of them. Moo! With a bang, the ground was cut open by the giant axe. The Panishu brothers scattered and dodged, barely avoiding the attack. The elder brother swung the pan to fight back, but the huge pan seemed very light in his hands. He swept the pan across and hit Taurus. At the same time, the younger brother quickly approached Lucy and attacked with his well-trained fist. The biggest weakness of the celestial spirit wizard is that the wizard himself is a waste, he said arrogantly. However, a hand suddenly appeared in front of his face and held his head tightly. Suddenly, his vision was reversed. As the whole person fell backwards, he saw the blue sky through the gap between Knight's fingers. What? The younger brother was shocked and didn't react at all. The next moment, the back of his head hit the ground hard, followed by a strong vibration force. Boom! In an instant, the ground cracked. The cross-star afro, who was still arrogant a second ago, was now lying on the ground like a dead dog. What should I call this move? Knight let go of his hand and thought, grab the target's head and use vibration to accurately hit the head. Strong hands to crack the skull. Brother. After Lucy and Taurus exchanged a move, they found that their brother was killed in seconds, and they were immediately shocked. It all happened so fast that Lucy didn't even see Knight's movements clearly. It's Knight. She felt completely safe and shouted, Taurus, kill him quickly. Taurus took advantage of his brother's distraction and hit the opponent's back with an axe, knocking him down directly. Lucy screamed and fainted on the spot. What are these two people doing here? Knight was speechless. It seems that the work of a mercenary is not easy. Miss Lucy, your figure is still the same as always. Taurus stood next to Lucy with a loving look in his eyes. Yes, you should go back first. Lucy waved the key perfunctorily and sent Taurus back to the celestial spirit world. Knight, it has been solved, let's go find the client quickly. Don't worry, there is another one. Knight walked under a tree, squatted down, stretched out his right palm and pressed it on the ground. Earthquake. Boom. The earth shattered, forming a huge pit with a radius of tens of meters. In the pit, Duke Bar lay miserably in the middle. This old pervert, Lucy said in surprise. When did he hide underground? Since you left the Duke's mansion, he has followed you all the way. Knight walked to the unconscious Duke and took out a golden key from his pocket. So, is it because of me that you were exposed? Lucy was a little embarrassed. I thought it was Knight who was caught stealing books. Why do I feel like a waste? Fortunately, there is Knight. Suddenly seeing that Knight had an extra golden key in his hand, Lucy's pupils trembled and blurted out. The key of the zodiac. Virgo. Is he also a celestial spirit wizard? She suddenly remembered the maids she saw at the door, and she felt something was wrong at the time. It turned out that there was a celestial spirit among them. Muscle Maid. The one who appeared at the beginning. Lucy's eyes lit up, and her voice suddenly became choked. Lord Knight. Hey, don't be crazy, this is my trophy. Knight played with the Virgo key in his hand. Virgo. Should I also learn celestial spirit magic and become a celestial spirit wizard? Celestial spirit magic is not that easy to learn. Lucy hurried over and grabbed the key with tears in her eyes. I'll buy it, can't I buy it? Do you have money? Can I write an IOU? Lucy's tone was humble, and her eyes were full of water. It's over, the more I owe, the more I owe. Knight gave her the key, touched Lucy's head, and smiled to comfort. Come on, it's just 15.997 million J, it will be paid off soon. Quote. Lucy was happy and sad, and she was almost broken. Let's go, what are you still doing? Go find the client. Yes. Soon after, Knight and the other found the client, a middle-aged man who lived in a mansion. The client was shocked that they came with the book, but he finally said he would pay. Lucy was confused that he would pay 2 million J for destroying a book. Before destroying it, she read Sunrise carefully and soon found something unusual. On the surface, this book was a personal adventure novel written by a great writer for Duke Bar. It was very badly written, and it was not at all like the level of this great writer. After reading it carefully, Lucy soon realized that it was a magic book. It was a gift from the great writer's father to his son, and it was also his last work. It turned out that the great writer was threatened by Duke Bar with his family, so he had to make a trick of replacing the pillars. He is my father. After solving the mystery and understanding everything, the client burst into tears and finally decided not to destroy the book. Knight was not interested in these, but just watched Lucy perform silently. Finally, they got 2 million J and got on the carriage for the return trip. Actually, he rented the mansion, and he is not a rich man. In the car, Knight shook his head and said, "It's a shame to save face." Huh, really? Lucy was surprised. Then isn't it a bad idea for us to take 2 million? This is to teach him a lesson. Instead of letting him waste money on other things to save face, it's better to give it to me and I'll help him spend it. Well, that makes sense. Lucy also thought it was okay. Since there was no money, she shouldn't just increase the amount of 200,000 to 2 million. Back to Magnolia. Knight and Lucy walked into the guild together. It's so quiet. Standing at the door, Lucy looked around strangely. It should be very noisy normally. Knight saw Natsu and Gray, the two of them were arm in arm, showing a very friendly side. In front of them, a tall girl in armor was nodding with satisfaction. Urza Shukalit, one of the 5S level members of the guild, nicknamed Fairy Queen. 022 competition. Knight vs Urza, 4 quarters flowers requested. The quiet guild. As Knight and Lucy walked in, time seemed to start flowing again. Are you back from the mission? Knight, Lucy. Mirajan smiled as always. Knight, Lucy. Urza turned around, her delicate face showing no emotion. Are you two the newcomers Mira mentioned? Welcome to Fairy Tale, I'm Urza. Hello, Senior, I'm Knight. Knight greeted her while looking at her. The first thing that caught his attention was her long crimson hair. The armor she wore had a red guild emblem on her left chest, which protected her upper body perfectly. The lower body was a blue short skirt and a pair of black long boots, which perfectly modified her long legs. This kind of dress made Knight look more like a kingdom knight than a magician. In fact, Urza's magic was indeed called Knight. Ms. Urza, hello, I'm Lucy. Lucy also hurriedly greeted. She heard from Miss Mira that she was one of the S-class in the guild. Wow, such a strong woman, a little scary. Perhaps seeing Lucy's nervousness, Urza tried to show a kind smile. Since you have joined the guild, you will be a family in the future. Don't be polite if you encounter difficulties, just come to me. Did you hear that? Lucy, if you encounter difficulties, find Urza Sr. Knight nodded in agreement. Subtext, don't look for me, let me fish well. You don't need to call me senior, just call me by my name. Urza always speaks and does things with a serious expression, and she looked at Knight. I just came back and heard a lot of your deeds. The president praised your magic internet for bringing changes to the magic world. As a wizard, you also master powerful super magic. Urza's tone was full of appreciation. Knight was about to be humble, but she didn't expect her to change the subject. Let's put aside the internet. Since you have mastered super magic, come and compete with me. Let me see your strength. When these words came out, the people in the tavern were shocked. Urza, are you going to compete with Knight? It will definitely be a wonderful duel. Suddenly I am looking forward to it. Everyone seemed to be watching the excitement, their eyes were shining, and the atmosphere changed from the quietness just now to a lively one. Only Knight was speechless. Good news, Urza didn't want to team up with him. Bad news, she wanted to fight him. Why is it bad news? He suspected that if he won, there would be another game, and the next game, and then it would go on and on. As for losing, as a man, Knight didn't want to lose to a woman. At this time, Natsu jumped out happily. Ahahaha, Urza, you want to compete with Knight. Fight with me first, I will definitely win this time. Natsu, who is full of fighting spirit, was surrounded by flames and attacked Urza fiercely. Fire Dragon's Iron. Urza suddenly turned around and punched Natsu in the abdomen like lightning. Bang! Natsu fell to the ground on the spot and was knocked out. Ha ha ha, you deserve it, Natsu, you idiot. Gray laughed gloatingly. Mirajan stood up to stop him. Wait, Urza, neither Knight nor you are suitable for sparring in the guild, it will tear down the house. That's right, let's go to the lake behind the guild. Urza nodded seriously. Come with me, Knight. No, I haven't agreed yet, why do you assume that I agree? Knight looked at Urza walking towards him and stopped in front of him. Do you have anything to prepare? I'll wait for you. Urza smiled. Don't look at me like this, I'm also a considerate woman. Your consideration is used in the wrong place. Knight complained in his heart. At this point, he had no choice but to say. Before the fight, you have to promise me one thing. The guild is all family, no matter how many things, I will agree. If you lose, you are not allowed to spar with me again in the future. Hearing this, Urza was stunned for a moment, and then smiled. Very confident, not bluffing, really thinks he can win. Urza and Knight stared at each other for 5 seconds. I promise you, I will wait for you by the lake. As she said, she walked out of the guild heroically. Behind the fairy tale guild is a huge lake that can be called a sea. At this time, by the lake, Knight and Urza are dozens of meters apart. 100 meters away from the two are the guild members who came to watch the excitement. Fairy tale love each other, chat group. Macau, it's started, start betting now. Wakaba, I'm betting on Urza, 200 points. Levy, although Knight is also very powerful, Urza is stronger purely from the perspective of magic power, so I'm betting on Urza, 100 points. Lucy, why are you using points? I'm too popular. You can make money through commissions, but there are not many opportunities to earn points. Mirajan, Loki, please change to your real name in the group. Loki, Admira, changed. I'm also betting on Urza, 200 points. Mirajan, don't tell me it was Macau who proposed it. Mirajan, at Macau, I believe in Knight, I'm betting 500 points. Macau, why do you have so much? Mirajan, secret, smile.jpg. Wakaba, damn it, it must be given to you by Knight, I'm so envious, tears.jpg. Happy, having an affair, smirk.jpg. Lucy, when did Happy come in? No, why can cats also surf the internet? Happy, silly Lucy, I have fingers too. Rage.jpg. Macau, don't make trouble, bet quickly, and stop when the fight starts. Knight glanced at the people who were joining in the fun, typing quickly, and he knew what they were doing without joining the group. Stay away, I won't care if you get involved. Then he looked at Urza. Let's start. Knight, you go first. Urza has the virtue of a knight, and as a senior, of course, she has to give in to the junior. Change clothes. A white light flashed, and Urza had an ordinary sword in her hand. Seeing this, Knight didn't say anything, but just observed his opponent silently. In front of his 6 eyes, Urza had no place to hide. The magic power was about 4 stars or more, much higher than his. But magic power is just magic power, and magic is magic. If you have to make an analogy, magic power is the oil in the fuel tank of a car. And magic is the engine of a car. Then I'm here. The magic power in Knight's body burned and gathered on a punch. Boom! The fist hit the side of the body, as if breaking the space. The next moment, huge waves rose on the lake, and the huge waves of 100 meters high swept towards Urza. 023 A breathtaking punch. 100-meter high waves, overwhelming momentum. In front of such a great force of nature, humans seem extremely small. Urza raised her head. Her neck was slender and delicate, like flawless white jade, carefully carved, without any flaws. Just a casual blow can set off a tsunami. Although I knew Knight's magic beforehand, I was still shocked at the moment. The 100-meter high waves swept over, and the oppressive feeling brought by the momentum alone was suffocating. Urza didn't have extra time to think, she took a deep breath. Change clothes. As her whole body was covered by a layer of halo, when the halo disappeared, her whole body was wrapped in a gorgeous silver-white armor. It started. The guild members who were watching the excitement from a distance shouted, and when they saw the huge waves coming, they quickly retreated one by one, fearing that they would be caught in it. It's the diamond armor. Does Urza want to resist this natural disaster with her body? Even if it's a magic armor with super defense, it's absolutely impossible. As if she noticed that there were still people staying there, Urza glanced at them with her peripheral vision and shouted. What are you still standing there for? Run! I can't block them all. What a bunch of idiots. She held 2 silver shields in both hands, facing the huge waves, and suddenly put them together. The next moment, a huge emerald green magic circle was born. The waves fell and collided violently with the magic circle first. The powerful thrust made Urza's face change slightly, her body sank, and her feet began to sink into the ground. What a fierce impact! Urza gritted her teeth and persisted. But her defense range, compared with the scale of the huge waves, was just a small boat in the sea. The lake water quickly flooded around her. In an instant, a large area behind the guild turned into a swamp. Fortunately, Urza blocked the first wave of impact from the front, buying time for the crowd to evacuate. Seeing the waves spreading and about to catch up with everyone, Gray suddenly stopped, clenched his right fist, and placed it on his left palm. Ice make. Ice wall. The magic power was transformed into low-temperature cold air, and Gray bent down and clapped his hands on the ground. In an instant, the incoming tide solidified and froze, forming an ice wall. I can't freeze it, there are too many, go. After blocking it for a while, Gray shouted immediately. Not to mention that the onlookers were busy keeping their distance and showing their magical powers. In a swamp, only the area around Knight was not invaded by the lake. Did you block it? Knight was not surprised that Urza could block the tsunami. It was just a greeting, and he didn't expect to solve the battle in one move. Change clothes heavenly wheel armor. Suddenly, Urza changed the magic armor again and killed from the surging lake with a sword. It's super magic, the destructive power is amazing. Urza praised, and when approaching Knight from behind, she consciously warned him and swung the sword in her hand. Heavenly wheel dazzling sword. The sword light was as fast as lightning. However, Knight seemed to have eyes on the back of his head. He slightly moved his right foot and tilted his body to the right to avoid the first sword. Then he retreated slightly and barely avoided the second sword. Then, the third, fourth, fifth. Every move he made was just right, no more, no less. In a flash, when all the sword lights were dodged, Knight just turned around and faced Urza, who was nearby. "It's useless, Senior, your armor can't touch the corner of my clothes." "Don't call me Senior, call me Urza." Urza flew 10 meters above the ground, raised the sword in her hand, and drew a circle. Suddenly, dozens of magic swords were deployed at high speed in a circle. Heavenly Wheel's circular sword. The magic swords were used as throwing weapons and fell towards Knight. Six Eyes could see through the trajectory of such a dense attack, but Knight could not dodge all of them due to his physical limitations. He simply punched back. Air shock. The atmosphere cracked, and the vibration was released forward in a fan shape, and all the magic swords were shaken to change their trajectory. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Dozens of long swords seemed to have eyes, and all, actively, avoided the position where Knight was, and were inserted all over the ground around. Urza couldn't help but be stunned. What is this? There was a moment of blankness in her mind. It's not that she couldn't understand the scene in front of her, on the contrary, she could see what was going on at a glance. Use vibration to change the attack path of the sword, causing it to deflect slightly. But the problem is that this was done in an instant, and it happened dozens of times in 0.1 seconds. Such precise magic control has reached an incredible level. Of all the wizards Urza has seen, no one can do this. As one of the 10 saints, President Makarov can't do it. Is he human? Urza couldn't help but doubt, is this something a human can do? As if he could see what she was thinking, Knight waved at Urza in midair. "Change your clothes, this one won't work. I'll give you a suggestion. My magic power is far inferior to yours. As long as we start a war of attrition, you will win sooner or later." Hearing this, Urza's expression became very serious. "It's just a sparring match, not a life and death battle, but what you said makes sense. Knight, you have to be careful. Change clothes." Her body was once again enveloped by a golden halo. Black feather armor. This time, Urza's image changed drastically. The Sky Wheel armor looks like a fighting angel, but the black feather armor is a demon. This set of armor has dark demon wings. Compared with the former tightly wrapped, this set reveals a lot of delicate skin. The wings behind the armor shook, and Urza, holding a one-handed sword, dived towards Knight below. The raised blade slashed down mercilessly. Knight leaned to the left, and at the same time, his left foot moved back a little half a step, and the sword almost passed by his face. The sword missed, but a long cut was torn in the ground. It's not over yet. Urza used a diagonal upward sword, but Knight dodged it again. Facing her fierce sword skills, Knight dodged the attack while thinking about how to win this competition. Isn't this move a bit despicable? Never mind, as long as I can win. Dodging Urza's sword again, Knight did not retreat but moved forward, actively approaching the opponent. At the same time, he stretched out his index finger and thumb with both hands and made a 7 gesture. The two 7s merged into one, forming a frame. Knight's eyes penetrated the frame and locked onto Urza's eyes. How about a smile? Urza-senpai. Urza subconsciously stared at Knight's movements. At this moment, magic photograph. Click. As if the sound of a camera pressing the shutter, a strong and dazzling flash of light broke out in the center of the frame. Oops. Urza immediately had a bad feeling. It was just an ordinary magic for taking photos, but at this moment, she was hit as expected. The strong light made her close her left eye tightly, and at the same time, her body quickly retreated, wanting to fly into the sky. Although her right eye, as a prosthetic limb, did not feel too much discomfort, her vision was blank and she could not see anything. It's too late. Knight thought to himself that he had no intention of showing mercy to Urza, and a punch containing almost all the magic power had already hit Urza. What should this move be called? The moment Knight made his move, he even had the mood to name the move. Amazing. Boom. The terrifying vibration broke out, turning into a shock that swallowed Urza. In an instant, the black feather armor cracked inch by inch, and shattered into countless pieces with a bang. After that, the impact did not weaken, and the lake behind Urza was split into two, tearing a gap of hundreds of meters. 024 After a week of recovery, Urza is addicted to the internet. It's over. The guild members who had been hiding far away looked at the scene by the lake in the distance, but they couldn't see it clearly because the distance was too far. They only saw a flash of strong light, and then the lake was torn into a gap hundreds of meters long. The magic fluctuations from afar began to weaken, and everyone had a premonition that the winner had been decided. Who won? Knight won. Happy conjured a pair of wings behind his back and flew to a high place. It was vaguely seen that it was Knight standing. Everyone was shocked. Knight won. Is Urza okay? Knight's magic power is not as strong as Urza's, but he actually won. Magic power does not represent an absolute victory or defeat. Anything can happen in a battle. But the competition between these two is really terrible. It changed the terrain. By the lake, Urza's black feather armor was broken, leaving only a set of black underwear. She lay on her back on the ground, feeling depressed compared to the pain in her body. She was careless, and then she lost. Lost to the magic of taking pictures. She regretted her promise to Knight. Now she wanted to find a chance to fight again. She still had many stronger armors that she hadn't used yet. Are you okay, Senior? Suddenly, Knight's face blocked the dazzling sunlight and broke into her field of vision. Don't call me Senior, call me Urza. Urza repeated helplessly for the third time. With a flash of golden light, she changed back to her first and most commonly used set of armor. Without armor, she felt uneasy. When she wanted to get up, she was injured again, and she bit her red lips in pain. It's better if you don't move. Knight reached out and pulled Urza up. Thank you. After thanking her, Urza tried to take a step, but she felt a strong tearing sensation in her abdomen. She staggered and almost fell. Knight had to support her, thinking, I was a little too heavy-handed. But he didn't have any good way. If he didn't hit the black feather armor harder, he wouldn't be able to break it and win. Wait, black feather armor. Wouldn't he ask him to pay for it? Sorry, can you please carry me to the infirmary? Urza gritted her teeth and wanted to insist on walking by herself, but it was obvious that she couldn't do it. She was a little angry with herself. Too weak, not at all decent. I'll carry you. Knight thought about it. Okay, but you can't ask me for compensation. Compensation. Urza's eyes flashed with doubt. Why do you want to pay? Is it the black feather armor? She couldn't help but chuckle. Don't worry, I won't ask you for compensation. Why do you think I want to ask you for compensation? I propose the sparring, and the armor damaged in the battle is also my own problem. You are indeed a considerate woman, and you are not wrong. Knight expressed his appreciation and immediately carried Urza on his back. Then he felt two hard objects behind him, bumping him from time to time. So hard. In all aspects, they are very hard women. This reminded Knight of some boys who like to suddenly brake when riding a bike with a girl. I can only experience the solidity of the armor. After carrying Urza back to the guild's infirmary, Knight put her on the bed. Thank you for carrying me back. You're welcome. I hurt you. It's my duty. Knight took out a silver ring and placed it on the cabinet next to the bed. As an apology, this magic ring is for you. This is the magic item for logging onto the internet. Urza looked at it curiously. She saw that all the wizards in the guild were wearing it. At this time, Mirajan came in with a medical kit. It's all swollen, Urza. As soon as she entered the room, she noticed that Urza's right arm, where there was no armor protection, was obviously red and swollen from the shoulder down. While opening the medical kit, Mirajan said to the two, "You two are really something. There's no need to fight so hard just for a sparring match." Thank you, Mira. Urza lay on the bed and thanked him. Mirajan smiled gently. Take off the armor first. As she spoke, she remembered something and turned to Knight beside her and said with a smile. Knight, are you staying here to see? Urza's body is very good. Knight smiled and walked out of the infirmary. Back to the guild tavern, he found a spacious table to sit down, opened the programming tool and continued to write code. The competition with Urza was just a small episode, and he didn't take it seriously. The tavern was still lively, and everyone was still discussing the battle just now. Knight, Just as he was thinking about how to write the next code, Natsu ran over excitedly. You and Urza, who won? Love, Knight won, Natsu. Happy also flew to the table and complained. Natsu, you were killed in one punch. When you were unconscious, Knight had already won. Damn it, didn't you see it? Natsu clenched his fists, and his eyes were burning with fire, literally burning with fire. Next, let me spar with you, Knight. Knight's eyes twitched slightly. Can I still write code properly? The guild is lively, but it's too lively. Happy waved his little paw. Natsu, you will be killed in one punch. No, I was just careless just now. Natsu was obviously very stubborn. On the other side, Lucy and Kana were sitting at a table, chatting, and saw Natsu running to challenge Knight. Natsu is really not afraid of being beaten. Same old, he challenged Urza all the time when he was a kid, but he never won once. Kana drank and said a little drunkenly. Gray was the same, he challenged Urza and was beaten up. And Loki, he wanted to pursue Urza, and was beaten half to death. Lucy's head was full of black lines, she could already imagine that scene. As expected of Urza. Speaking of which, Mira and Urza had a bad relationship when they were young. I'll tell you in secret, although Mira is so gentle and kind now, she was. Lucy smelled the smell of gossip, and her ears perked up. So, the two girls started to talk in whispers. ... That's good. In the infirmary, Mira Jane packed up the medicine box and looked at Urza, who was covered with bandages on the bed, and couldn't help laughing. It's rare to see you like this. Knight was too heavy. Don't blame him, I proposed the competition. In that case, he could only do this if he wanted to win. Urza really spoke for Knight with understanding. Her whole body was wrapped in bandages, and only her left hand could move. Rest well, Urza. Such a serious injury will take at least a week to heal. I understand. Go and get busy, Mira. After watching Mirajan leave, Urza was left alone in the infirmary. She stared at the ceiling for a long time, and suddenly remembered the internet, so she reached out and picked up the ring on the table. The magic that can bring changes to the magic world. Let me take a good look. Urza looked serious and used her left middle finger to pierce the silver ring. After entering the magic power. Welcome to the world of the internet. Closing square bracket. Please enter your internet nickname. Closing square bracket. The nickname cannot be changed for the time being, please choose carefully. Closing square bracket. Nickname, _. Looking at the interface that appeared in front of her, Urza fell into deep thought. There is no magic power. It is not magic text. How did she do it? Even if it is a magic prop, light pen, a magic prop that can write text in the air, what it writes is also magical. Incredible magic. Urza murmured softly, then typed in her nickname with one hand. Fairy Queen. No, calling myself the Fairy Queen is a bit too embarrassing. Urza quickly deleted it and retyped it. Night. 0250.3 version update. Urza logged onto the internet and was quickly attracted by the many posts in the forum. Thanks to Mirajan, the administrator, who is very dedicated. Today's forum has been completely renewed compared to the chaos of yesterday. Some useful posts were marked as featured, while controversial posts were blocked and sunk to the bottom. It's so lively, Urza murmured in surprise. There were posts asking questions about magic practice, about how to train one's mental strength. There were also people who shared their experiences without asking for anything in return. She even saw the name of the chairman of the council. She was a little confused on the spot. Crawford Shim. Is that him? Such a big shot actually appeared on the magic network. And he used his real name. Urza browsed the posts curiously and found that this big shot actually patiently explained magic knowledge to others. The people who followed the posts below expressed that they were honored to communicate with the chairman up close. Of course, there were also discordant voices. Natsu, you are the one who often finds me. All the money earned from the commission was fined away by you. Damn it, let's fight with me. Urza. At this time, there was a knock on the door outside the infirmary, interrupting Urza's thoughts. Please come in. I'll borrow your place for a while. Knight pushed the door open and entered, looking helpless. Because of you, Natsu is now targeting me and has to spar with me. Sorry, I'm causing you trouble. Urza apologized very seriously. This is indeed what Natsu would do, just like shouting on the magic network that he wants to duel with the speaker. This is the guild's infirmary. You can stay as long as you want. Knight nodded, found a chair and sat down, and continued to write code. Seeing that he was very focused, Urza couldn't help but feel curious. But considering that it's not good to disturb others, Knight should be in need of a quiet environment now. She turned back and continued to browse the internet until she saw a featured post. Voldemort. This nickname made Urza frown slightly. A member of the Dark Guild, or a dark wizard. From the other party's answer, it seems that he knows many secrets of the magic world. Dragons exist in the body of Dragon Slayer. After a little hesitation, Urza clicked reply and left a message under Voldemort's post. Hello, Senior, do you know the R system? Closing square bracket. Urza felt a little ashamed to call a person who might be a dark wizard a senior. After waiting for a long time, there was no reply. In the evening, Knight finished writing a piece of code and looked up at the weather outside the window. It's getting late, I'll go back first, goodbye, Urza. Stretching and turning off the programming system, Knight greeted Urza on the bed, opened the door and left. See you tomorrow. Urza was immersed in the internet, and when she looked up to respond, the door had already closed. This man is amazing to be able to create such a magical magic. She agreed with the president's opinion in her heart. The potential of internet magic is huge, and it is just a big framework now. Of course, just allowing wizards from all over the world to communicate with each other on the magic network is already a revolutionary step. No one has ever been able to do it before. Urza couldn't help but feel a strong curiosity about Knight. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. 2 days later, Knight didn't go to the guild these 2 days. It was too noisy there. It was better to stay at home and retreat. After 2 days of hard work, he finally completed the online commission function. Next, we will release the update. I hope there will be no bugs. He opened the system and took a look. Today's active users, 846. Closing square bracket. Today's average daily online time, 5.45 hours. Closing square bracket. Total number of registered users, 889. Closing square bracket. Already almost 900 people. Juvia's efficiency is really good. Knight nodded with satisfaction and glanced at the private message. Departing traveler. I haven't seen you these 2 days. Lucy said you were making new features at home. Is there anything I can help you with? Closing square bracket. Sigma Man, it's already done. I need your help next. Closing square bracket. After replying, Knight opened the chat group. Through the background function, he can see all the chat groups currently created. There are more than 30 groups. Knight looked surprised. He looked at the group name carefully. Phantom is the best in the world. No need to guess, it must be created by Phantom's Wizard, with more than 400 members, which is the group with the largest number of members at present. Secondly, it is Fairy Tale Love. In addition to these 2 large groups, the other groups are not large. Most of them are guild teams. For example, Shadow Gear has only 3 members, and the group owner is Levi. Knight's developer account has the highest authority, and can ignore the rules, enter any chat group, and peek at all chat records. He randomly selected a few groups and glanced at them, and quickly exited. Mistake. There should be a point consumption for creating a group, including increasing the upper limit of the number of group members. Knight pinched his chin. Currently, there are only 2 channels for recycling points. Play games to redeem happy beans, and use the library function. It's not too late to add it now. There are also online commissions, and accepting commissions also requires points requirements. Thinking of this, Knight immediately modified it. This is not difficult, and it will be changed in a while. After doing this, Knight opened the Fairy Tale Love chat group. Sigma Man. At all members, update later, the magic network will be interrupted, just log in again. Closing square bracket. As soon as he popped up, the group suddenly exploded. Gray, Knight, closing square bracket. Macau, oh, I actually saw you Knight, what did you add this time? Urza, Knight, I have something to talk to you about. Can you come to the infirmary when you are free? The messages in the group were flooding the screen like a waterfall. Knight couldn't read them all, so he only read the first few clearly. Sigma Man, a very convenient function has been added, you will know it soon. After sending this message, Knight closed the interface and turned on the synchronization button. When the button was pressed, all Magic Network users were disconnected. When the ring was turned on again, the first thing that appeared was the update announcement. Alpha 0.3 version update announcement. 1. Added the online commission function. Please see details for details. 2. From now on, creating a chat group will consume points, and upgrading the upper limit of the number of group members will also consume points. 3. The featured posts published on the forum will be rewarded with different points. 4. Excellent reply posts will also be rewarded with points. In this update, Knight provided more points acquisition channels and more points consumption channels. At the same time, when the update was completed, the system prompts also came synchronously. Task: improve the magic internet and develop a new function. Reward: 10,000 magic rings. Extra reward: depends on the completion of the new function. Task completed. Results calculated. 026 Why not ask the magical internet? 4 quarters asking for flowers. Results are being calculated. New function, online commission, is released. Evaluation: good. After a short wait, the system gave a good evaluation. Knight was quite satisfied with the result. It was just a function developed in 2 or 3 days. It was good that it didn't give a general evaluation. He looked at the reward content. Additional reward: air dance. Detected that it is not the Dragon Ball world, and the reward is being converted. Air dance. Magic air dance. In an instant, Knight once again experienced the feeling of magic knowledge flowing through his brain. The secret of the new magic air dance was quickly mastered. This is a flying magic that allows the caster to fly freely in the sky. Good magic. Knight opened his eyes, and his body slowly floated up as soon as he thought about it. The apartment house was not big, so he didn't fly too high. He just tried to move his body 1 meter above the ground. This magic gave him only one feeling: do whatever you want. When the magic is activated, you can hardly feel the pull of the terrain gravity, and you can move in any direction as you want. And the magic power consumed is also very humane. When flying at low speed, almost no magic power is consumed, which is not much different from the inherent magic 6 eyes. But if it enters the state of high-speed flight, the consumption of magic power will increase significantly. Overall, it is a very good magic. I sparred with Urza 2 days ago. If I could fly, it would be much easier to win. Knight landed on the floor with satisfaction, and then looked at the basic rewards. 10,000 magic rings. It is not easy to distribute so many rings. Although Juvia is not saturated, she can't eat so many. We have to think of a new way. Cooperate with the council, or find Luce's father. Or wait for others to come. Today's internet scale has begun to take off, and sooner or later someone will come to me. Knight thought about it and has not decided which method to take for the time being. In fact, the best way is to use the magic network to let existing users consume points to obtain rings. This can also recycle points on a large scale, thereby causing a shortage of points, so that the leaks desperately try to find ways to earn points. In this way, the rings can be distributed and the internet can be more prosperous and lively. Unfortunately, this method is more troublesome to implement now. Do we have to let others come to Fairy Tale to get the rings? If we can learn teleportation magic, it will be fine. Knight shook his head. There was no rush for this matter. Leaving the apartment, Knight went to the guild. I haven't been there for 2 days, and I miss the food made by the poster girl. Entering the guild tavern, Knight found that everyone was discussing new features. So, we can accept commissions through the Magic Network in the future. It seems like that, even if people are not in the guild, it is completely possible. This is so convenient. Knight, you are here. I don't know who shouted, and everyone in the tavern cast their eyes. Good morning, everyone. Knight smiled and greeted. I haven't seen you for 2 days. You are here to open a new function. Good job, Knight. About the new function, Knight. Knight waved his hand and said, I know what you want to ask. I also know you are anxious, but don't worry. Then he walked to the bar. The poster girl took the initiative to pour him a glass of wine with a lower alcohol content and chuckled. Knight, I looked at the online commission section, and there is no commission on it. You asked me to help before. It's just what you thought. Knight nodded. Mira, you will be responsible for updating the commission content of the guild to the commission section. Will this be a bother for you? This is my job. It's better to say that the function you developed makes it easier for me. Mirazan shook her head slightly and said, however, this matter needs to be reported to the president first, and the president must agree. Where is the president? Knight was curious. Speaking of which, since taking 10 rings from him last time, I haven't seen Makarov for a few days. The president has gone to attend a routine meeting. Mirazan replied, don't worry, I will explain the situation to the president. Knight, don't worry, the president will definitely be happier than everyone else with this convenient function. Then I'll leave it to you. Knight took a sip of wine, stood up and said, Urza seems to have something to ask me, I'll go see. After that, he went to the infirmary. Online commission section. Knight gave each guild a subsection according to different guilds. In theory, each subsection requires someone to be responsible for uploading the commission content to the Magic Network. Fairy Tale's side is naturally handed over to Mirazan, the poster girl. As for other guilds, it's not him who is anxious anyway. Infirmary. Urza is still lying on the bed. Compared with the previous 2 days when she could only move her left hand, her current condition is much better. At least she can get out of bed and walk. But it will take a few days to fully recover. Knight knocked on the door and waited for a while before walking in. Quote, Urza, you said you have something to talk to me about. It's very important. Urza's face was serious. Actually, I encountered several members of the Dark Guild Eisenwald on my way to the mission this time. She explained quickly. About 4 or 5 days ago, she heard Eisenwald's people planning a conspiracy in a tavern in a small town. But at that time, she was in a hurry to complete the commission and did not catch those people. I originally planned to solve this matter after returning to deliver the mission, but I can't do anything in my current state. Urza sighed. Knight stomped, and a bad premonition came. Eisenwald, of course he knew the main plot of the plot, and he was very clear about what they were planning. Sure enough, the next second, Urza asked with a serious face. I heard the name, Larabai, from them. Knight, I hope you can investigate it. As a member of a regular guild, you must not pretend not to see the Dark Guild. No one knows what evil they will do and how much damage they will cause. Maybe the damage they caused is not as bad as Natsu's. Knight complained in his heart and said immediately. Larabai, Urza, if it's just an investigation, why don't you ask the magical internet? 027 Self-Destruction. The Dark Guild's forum performance. Knight didn't want to get involved in some messy things. The goal of the Dark Guild Eisenwald was to use Larabai to attack the Guild President Alliance, which was holding a routine meeting. You have to know that they were all guild presidents. What could a mere Dark Guild do? It was equivalent to a group of ants attacking a group of lions. I don't know where Eisenwald got his confidence from. Even if his head was pinched, he wouldn't do such a stupid thing. Therefore, Knight chose to throw the trouble to the internet. The friendly netizens might be able to solve Urza's doubts. If there is really no answer, he will ask the big boss, Voldemort, to take action. Ask the internet. Urza was slightly startled, thinking of asking Voldemort about the R system 2 days ago, and there was no response until now. Now Knight asked her to try again. she was a little skeptical whether it would work. It doesn't cost money to try it, Knight smiled back. You have to believe in the powerful netizens. Then I'll try. Urza immediately opened the internet and chose to post a consultation post. In the past 2 days, she had been lying in bed recovering from her injuries. With nothing to do, she had been addicted to the internet and had already known how to post. Soon, a post was written. Urza was about to post it, but Knight stopped her. Wait a minute, what's wrong? Isn't this wrong? Yes, but when posting online, it's better to give it an eye-catching title. First trick people, ahem, first pull people in, and when more people see it, maybe you can meet a good person who is willing to answer. Urza's post title was too plain. Knight simply squeezed over, half sat on the bed, and helped her write a new title. Shocked, the Dark Guild actually did such a thing. Click, post. Urza blinked blankly, and had to admit that even she wanted to click in to see it when she saw this title. What did the Dark Guild do? What's shocking? You are really a genius, Knight. She looked sideways at Knight and praised him seriously. I've learned it, and she will use this trick next time. Knight was at a loss for words. If it weren't for Urza, he would have suspected that this was a sarcastic remark. You should pay attention to the reply. ... In a withered forest. The trees here are withered, the branches and leaves are falling, and colorful mushrooms grow under the trees. Deep in the gloomy forest, there is a hidden path, at the end of which stands a dark castle. Dark Guild, Eisenwald. A young man wearing a gray-black scarf and a gray cloak walked along the path and came to the door of the guild. A short-haired man with silver-white hair and a scythe on his shoulders walked out of the main door of the Dark Guild. You're back, Kageyama, the short-haired man said in a grim tone. Where's the thing? I've got it, Mr. Aragorn. The man named Kageyama stretched out his right hand from under his cloak, holding a skull-shaped withered wood-colored flute. This is the lullaby you need. Well done, Kageyama. Aragorn took the flute and grinned. The opportunity has come. With it, we can take revenge on the hateful guild alliance. He tightened his hand holding the flute, and veins bulged on the back of his hand. In addition, there is this. On the way back, I met several phantom wizards. Kageyama suddenly opened his left hand, and there was a silver ring in his palm. What is this? Aragorn frowned. Phantom wizard. Yes. On the train, I heard them talking about a new magic, internet, and this ring is a necessary magic prop to enter the internet. Kageyama nodded. He was very hostile to the wizards of the regular guild. After beating up those phantom members, he snatched the ring under interrogation. The ring will bind the first holder who inputs magic power. This is an unused ring. According to those people, the internet is a place to exchange information. I thought it might be useful, so I brought it back. Exchange information. Internet. Aragorn narrowed his eyes slightly, took the ring from Kageyama's palm and looked at it for a while. Ring magic is very common, and this kind of magic props are usually used by magicians who hold the system. With a hint of curiosity, Aragorn put the ring on the index finger of his right hand. After inputting magic power, a translucent interface immediately appeared in front of him. Words without magic. He was slightly surprised. Nickname. HMPH. Interesting, he wants to see what the ruler of Phantom is doing. Death. Aragorn simply inputs the text and enters the forum. Among the many posts, a title containing the words, Dark Guild, attracted his attention. Kageyama explained on the side. You can see the content inside by clicking on the text with your finger. I saw that the people in Phantom used it this way. Aragorn clicked as he was told, and then saw the content of the post. Question mark. I met several magicians from the Dark Guild Eisenwald in a tavern somewhere, and heard the name, Larabai, from their secret conversation. This group of people seems to be plotting something. Does anyone know what it is? It seems to be sealed, and those people want to unseal it. Please, if you know any information about Larabai, please tell me. I will use 200 points as a thank you. The nickname of the poster is Knight. Maybe he was attracted by the shock of the title, or maybe he wanted to get 200 points. There were many replies under the post. Aragorn's face darkened, and he stared at Kageyama suddenly. Were you discovered? I'm very sorry, Mr. Aragorn. Kageyama was shocked. He didn't remember where he was exposed. Aragorn retracted his gaze. It's okay, the thing is in hand. It seems that this internet is a place for regular guild wizards to exchange information. Using nicknames, each other's identities are unknown. It seems, can be used. He blended in among them, and others didn't know who he was. Aragorn continued to read down, and the replies below made his face gradually darken. Eisenwald, the small guild that was expelled by the Wizard Guild Alliance 6 years ago. Closing square bracket. Now it's a dark guild, and it's still doing assassination commissions. Closing square bracket. Assassination commissions are prohibited by the council. These guys have been warned many times but still insisted on their own way. They deserve to be expelled. Closing square bracket. Speaking of which, wasn't the former ace wizard of Eisenwald, Aragorn, nicknamed Death God? Closing square bracket. Yes, that's the guy. It's so funny. What kind of death god is he? He just did too many assassinations. Closing square bracket. What is he doing now? Closing square bracket. I heard that he is now a lackey of Oracion Cease. Closing square bracket. A small guild is a small guild. If it leaves the guild alliance, it will still be doomed to be a dog, unlike a specter, who are the best in the world. Closing square bracket. Mr. Aragorn. Kageyama couldn't help but sweat when he saw Aragorn's murderous eyes. Aragorn was furious. These trash from the regular guild actually looked down on him. I can't stand it. He typed quickly. Death God, are you qualified to evaluate Aragorn's strength? If he was Inspector, he would definitely be one of the S-level wizards. Closing square bracket. Then someone quickly replied. Does he deserve it? Picking nose.jpg. Still S-level. He might not even be able to beat me, a loser who became famous by assassination. What are you anxious about? You are called the God of Death. You are not an admirer of Aragorn, are you? Maybe it is Aragorn himself. Haha.jpg. The ridicule of a group of people made Aragorn furious. The most hateful thing is those expressions. I really want to chop them all to death along the network cable. The anger made him lose his mind. Death, you wait for me. Closing square bracket. Death, Larrabee is already in my hands. My revenge is about to begin. Closing square bracket. Death, the power of the curse song, you ignorant idiots will never understand it. Closing square bracket. Death, just open your dog eyes and take a good look at how I, the God of Death, Aragorn, kill all of you regular dogs. Closing square bracket. Death, start with those hateful guild leaders. Closing square bracket. He blew himself up. The following comments disappeared instantly. After a moment. Night. 028 going to the regular meeting. The presidents compete for the magic net ring. The internet is amazing. In the infirmary, Urza was stunned. She just posted a message on the forum to ask what kind of magic lullaby is, but she didn't expect Aragorn himself to jump out. Knight is right, the internet is amazing. Urza couldn't help but look at Knight standing by the bed. Is it true? It should be true. Knight answered uncertainly. But judging from this broken reply, it does look like Aragorn himself. But the problem is, he hasn't given the ring to the Dark Guild yet. Where did they get it? Robbed. Stolen. Forget it, it doesn't matter. Whoever uses the ring can pay him that internet fee. Compared to this group of netizens, or indeed netizens, each of them is a strong talker. After Aragorn blew himself up, none of them spoke. Knight. At this time, Urza suddenly grabbed his hand and asked sincerely, if what Aragorn said is true, his target is the presidents of the Guild Alliance. Now only you can stop him. The man who can beat him undoubtedly has S-level combat power. Knight wanted to pull his hand back, but he didn't expect to be held too tightly, and he was afraid that too much force would hurt Urza more. He said helplessly, that's the guild president, what can Aragorn do? Apart from anything else, the old man Makarov can kill Aragorn in seconds with just a little move, so why should he join in the fun? Take Natsu, Gray and the others with you. I will feel relieved if the three of you go together. Urza's eyes were full of passion and determination. You automatically filtered out the unfavorable words, right? Knight was about to say that he would go alone, but he saw that she was covered with bandages. Why did he hit her so hard at that time? He felt great after the amazing punch, and now facing Urza's request, he couldn't refuse. Forget it, just treat it as a vacation for yourself, travel and relax. Knight thought, and stopped refusing immediately. I know, then you should take good care of your injuries. Knight, you are such a good person. Urza smiled faintly, loosened her hands that were tightly holding Knight, and then hugged him in her arms. Don't die, you must come back safely. Quote. Knight's face was facing the softness of a pair of peaks. Through the bandages, he could feel Urza's body temperature and the fragrance that flowed into his nose. It smelled very good, not perfume, but probably body odor. Knight couldn't help but sigh, fortunately she didn't wear armor. At the same time, he complained in his heart that he was a normal male after all, and such ambiguous actions could easily go wrong. I'll leave you with the rest, Knight. Urza didn't have this kind of self-awareness. Knight felt that she was somewhat natural. Don't worry, I'm leaving now. Knight smiled and left the infirmary. When he returned to the guild tavern, Mirajan saw him and said with a smile, I just contacted the president, and the president has agreed. She was standing in front of the bulletin board on the first floor, entering all the commissions into the magic network one by one. Knight had given her the management authority of the sub-forum, Guild Fairy Tale. Thank you for your hard work, Mira. Quote. Knight walked up to her and thought, why doesn't the poster girl hug him? Natsu rushed over in a hurry. Let's fight, Knight. He bumped his fists together, and flames ignited on his fists, and shouted, Fire Dragon's Iron Fist. Bang! Knight punched with lightning speed, and while seeing through Natsu's moves, he hit the opponent's abdomen directly. Natsu screamed and fell to the ground again. K.O. Happy took out the gongs and drums from somewhere and knocked them twice. The winner is Knight. Everyone also noticed the movement here and laughed. Ha ha ha, Natsu is really a stubborn guy. He challenged Urza before, and now he is entangled with Knight. Mirajan covered her mouth and laughed. Urza is still faster. Where is the quick? Is the quickness to make Natsu shout one more, fist? Knight carried the unconscious Natsu on his shoulder and said, I'm going to the Guild Alliance. Mira, where is the meeting place for the president and others? In Kuroba town. Mirajan looked puzzled. Knight, what are you going to do? Take a walk. Knight chuckled and didn't say anything about Eisenwald, so as not to worry the poster girl. However, even if he didn't say it, you would know it by just looking at the post online. Knight glanced at the tavern, saw Gray, and walked over immediately. Gray, you come too. Huh, what's going on? Gray was drinking with his upper body naked. He was startled at first, and then realized that it was not a matter of walking. He got up and followed Knight, and only after Mirajan reminded him did he react and turned back to get his clothes. When he reached the door of the tavern, Knight suddenly thought of Lucy. Turned back and said, Lucy, you come too. Me. Lucy pointed at herself. Knight nodded with a smile on his face. Take you to a fun place for a trip, I'll treat you. Go, I'll go. Lucy's eyes lit up and she followed with great enthusiasm. Watching the four people and the cat leave the tavern, the guild members only started to murmur after they were far away. Did you get cheated? Didn't Lucy see the post online? Oh, what a simple girl, Knight is mean. Hearing these words, Mirajan opened the forum in confusion and soon saw the post posted by Urza. Death God, Aragorn. She was slightly startled and quickly opened her friend list to inform the president of the matter. Get on the magic train to Kuroba town. Knight and Lucy sat on one side, Gray and Natsu sat opposite, and Happy sat on the unconscious Natsu. That's it. Knight told everyone about the matter. After listening, Lucy covered her face with shame. I was cheated, Gray said in a deep voice. It seems that the magic called Larrabee is Aragorn's trump card. Larrabee. Lucy vaguely remembered where she seemed to have seen it. I don't think Aragorn would be so arrogant as to think that he could attack the guild leaders with the strength of the Eisenwald Guild alone. Gray analyzed. That's hard to say, he is a man who can self-destruct magic. Knight couldn't help laughing, and now he thought of the other party's defense-breaking reaction on the forum and found it funny. In short, we just need to go to Kuloba Town and wait for them to come to our door. Kuloba Town. A luxurious villa mansion, the banquet hall on the first floor of the mansion. The presidents of the major guilds gathered behind Makarov, all curiously looking at the chat interface in front of them. The departing traveler. That's it, President. Now Knight, Gray, Natsu, Lucy, Happy and others have rushed to your location. Fairy Tale Patriarch. I see, the Dark Guild is really restless. After a brief communication, Makarov closed the chat box and looked up to see a group of guild leaders surrounding him. What an interesting magic. It's more convenient than the magic pigeon. Bob, the guild leader of Blue Pegasus, is a fat man dressed in a flirtatious manner with blush on his cheeks. At this time, he covered his face with an amazed expression. Brother Makarov, I heard a few days ago that your guild has a powerful new wizard who created an incredible magic. Is this it? Yes. Makarov proudly showed the ring on his hand. Knight is the most talented wizard I have ever seen. Look, this ring is the key to activate the magic. The guild leaders didn't care about the so-called Dark Guild's attack at all. In contrast, a group of people showed great enthusiasm for the internet. Show me, Makarov, let me play for a while, pony. Stop showing off, show me the ring. 029 There must be something wrong with me that makes me so popular. It was already evening when Knight and his party arrived at Kuloba Town. The fiery red sunset reflected the sky, as if covering the mountains with a rosy coat. Natsu walked out of the station listlessly, with his back hunched, his arms hanging straight down, and his walking movements like a dehydrated mummy. He woke up halfway and vomited all the way. By the way, where is this? Why am I here? This is the town where the president holds regular meetings, Natsu. Happy flew beside Natsu and patted Natsu's shoulder with his little paw to comfort him. Knight patted his other shoulder and encouraged. Natsu, cheer up, you are the man who will become the pillar of fairy tale sooner or later. Pillar. Natsu's ears moved, and he straightened his back all of a sudden. Oh. He opened his mouth and sprayed a stream of fire into the sky, scaring the pedestrians at the station away quickly. It's so easy to fool. Lucy shook her head and held her forehead, and suddenly thought, is Knight usually fooling her like this? Anyway, Natsu, there will probably be enemies coming later, so I'll leave it to you. After Knight filled Natsu with energy, he turned to Gray and asked, where is the venue, do you know? It's not in the town, it's on the mountain outside. I'll lead the way. Gray walked in front, he had been here several times, so he knew the way. The group passed through the forest, walked along the forest path, and finally came to an open area. A luxurious mansion came into view. Across the big villa, Knight's 6 eyes immediately saw a lot of magic aura. More than a dozen, more than 20. Each of them had quite good magic, and the 2 most powerful ones were the most powerful. One of them was President Makarov, who Knight was more familiar with. The other one was, we're here, it's here. Gray pointed to the front and said, I smell the aroma of food. Happy, Knight, let's go, let's eat quickly. Natsu sniffed, and his sensitive nose made him hungry. Wait, Natsu, Knight reminded him, but it was too late. A figure leapt down from the roof of the mansion. Iron Dragon Stick. The man who suddenly attacked threw a punch, and his arm turned into a steel stick and suddenly stretched out. The target was Natsu, who was running in the front. Natsu had a lot of experience in being beaten, and he remained calm in the face of the sudden attack. He jumped forward, slapped the ground with his right hand, and dodged the attack with a somersault. With a bang, the iron stick was inserted into the ground. Are you the enemy who came to attack the president? Natsu stared at the other party and took a fighting stance. No. Gray's face was solemn. This guy is the S-class wizard of Phantom, Iron Dragon, Gajil. Hearing this, Lucy hid behind Knight in surprise. What Voldemort said is true. In addition to Natsu, there is also Dragon Slayer. Knight was actually quite curious why this person was here. Tisk, did you dodge it? Gajeel pulled out his right hand from the ground, looked at Natsu and grinned. Fire Dragon, this is the first time I meet you. Sorry, I mistook you for Aragorn who came to attack. You be ********D, want to fight. Facing another Dragon Slayer for the first time, Natsu ignited a strong desire to fight. He was not the type to take a beating without fighting back. With a step, he approached his opponent. Fire Dragon's iron fist. I've wanted to fight you for a long time. This world doesn't need two dragons. Gajeel shouted, and his right arm turned into a steel sword, with rotating iron teeth on it, and went to meet Natsu's fist. Iron Dragon Sword. Knight was not interested in watching the two fight, so he bypassed them and entered the mansion, leaving Lucy and Gray watching the show. Walking into the banquet hall, Knight finally saw many presidents. There were more than 20 presidents, and each of them represented a wizard guild. It turns out that there are so many wizard guilds in the Kingdom of Fury. Knight thought in surprise, and he saw Makarov. The old man was standing on the dining table, confronting another president. This man was wearing a purple magic robe and a magic hat with long pointed horns. The two long pointed hat drooped to one side. Behind the magic robe, there was also a pair of small devil wings. Knight had seen the information about this man when he searched the Phantom headquarters through the library before. One of the 10 holy mages, the ruler of the Phantom, Jose Porla. Why is this man here? Knight was puzzled, but then he thought, the Phantom is a regular guild, and Jose Porla is certainly qualified to join. No wonder, Iron Dragon, Gajeel is also here. The other powerful magic he felt outside the door must be this man. Realizing this, Knight couldn't help but feel extremely sympathetic to Aragorn. This guy wanted to attack the routine meeting relying on Larrabee. He didn't know what to say. I didn't expect you to come to the routine meeting, Jose. At this time, Makarov spoke in a deep voice. Hee, long time no see, Makarov. Jose smiled but didn't smile, holding a glass of red wine in his hand, looking very elegant. He continued, don't worry, I don't want to fight with you now. After all, this is the scene of the routine meeting. What are you doing here? Makarov was a little confused. The two have always been at odds. Every time he went to the routine meeting, the other party would not show up. This time it was out of character. I'm not here to find you. I'm waiting for someone. I'm here. Jose chuckled twice, turned his eyes, and looked at the door. You are the newcomer of Fairy Tale, the pioneer of internet magic, Knight. First meeting, President Jose. Knight noticed the other party's fingers, holding the red wine glass on his right hand, and wearing a silver ring on his little finger. There is no doubt that it is the internet login. The many presidents in the hall followed Jose's gaze and noticed Knight's existence one after another. Suddenly, they all showed surprised expressions. Knight, are you the genius magician that Lao Ma mentioned? Come on, come here, young man, let me take a good look, your magic is really interesting. He is still a handsome boy, exactly the same as when I was young. Knight noticed the word handsome boy and couldn't help but cast a glance, which was a bit eye-catching. **********E. President of Blue Pegasus. The fat ********E president walked over with his butt twisted. Oh, what a little cutie. Don't get close, it's a bit scary. Knight got goosebumps. He would rather fight with Urza again than face this one. I really don't want to be so popular. Especially the ********E. Knight's mouth twitched slightly, and he quickly stepped back half a step to avoid President Bob's hand. Bob covered his face with one hand and patted Knight's shoulder with the other hand. Oh, you're shy. Knight rolled his eyes. Bob smiled and said, a handsome guy like you should come to our guild. Our guild is full of handsome guys. Once he said this, the others were immediately unwilling. What nonsense are you talking about? Bob, of course you should come to our Quattro Cerberus. No, come to me. I've been thinking about retiring recently. How shameless. Knight, don't be fooled by him, he said the same thing last year. A group of guild leaders threw olive branches. Makarov's face turned black. Don't stop. What do you guys want to do? He regretted showing off the ring before. At this time, Jose said faintly. Do you want to come to our phantom? Compared to staying in a weak guild like Fairy Tale, coming to my place is more suitable for your development. Knight, I must be so popular that I'm wrong. 030 The number of users has skyrocketed. Knight, what kind of rotten fish and shrimp is Eisenwald? 4 quarters asking for flowers. Jose was very interested in Knight. As the president, he certainly knew that a magic ring suddenly appeared in his guild. After asking, he found out that the ring came from Juvia. After he bought the ring from Juvia, he soon understood everything. For the magic of the internet, Jose quickly realized its high value, so he asked Juvia where the ring came from. Unfortunately, Juvia refused to tell him, and in a rage, Jose sent her to carry out the S-level commission. In the past few days, Jose has been lurking on the internet, paying attention silently. Finally, it was confirmed that the magic came from the Fairy Tale Guild. After a little investigation, Knight was immediately locked. After learning that Knight was a newcomer who had recently joined Fairy Tale, Jose was so jealous that his teeth were broken. Fairy Tale again. In the past few years, with the activeness of Fairy Tale, its reputation has gradually surpassed Phantom, and it has a tendency to become the largest guild in the Kingdom of Fury. Now there is another talented newcomer joining. Jose can't stand it. He can't wait to poach Knight. This young wizard has just joined, so he probably doesn't have much affection for the guild. As long as he appeals to their feelings, promises them benefits, and shows enough attention. Seeing Jose start to poach people, Makarov was so angry that he blew his beard and glared. He jumped down from the table and quickly walked to Knight, like an old hen protecting her calves, protecting Knight behind him. What are you planning, Jose? The old man looked at Jose angrily. Hee, Makarov, everyone has the right to choose freely. Doesn't Fairy Tale allow people to come and go freely? Jose smiled. This time, the other presidents did not join. They invited Knight, more just to tease Makarov, who made the old man show off his ring in front of them before. In contrast, the conflict between Jose and Makarov was well known to everyone present. The president of Blue Pegasus, Bob, reminded Knight in a low voice beside him. Jose doesn't have a good relationship with your president. Knight understood what he meant, nodded immediately, and said to Jose. President Jose, I am very happy to stay in Fairy Tale, and I have no intention of quitting for the time being. Thank you for your invitation. Really, this is really a pity. Jose smiled and didn't care. He didn't expect to be able to poach him now, this time he just came to meet this genius. At this time, the president of Quattro Cerberus, Goldmine chuckled twice. Knight, we were just shown off by Makarov. Do we have to rely on that kind of ring to use your internet? It's like this at the moment. Knight nodded, he also wanted to develop a more convenient way to log in. But now, his knowledge of magic is not deep enough, and he can't create a login magic that is separated from the carrier. However, after hearing what he said, Knight suddenly remembered that he still had more than 10,000 rings. If all the more than 20 presidents present became his leaks, it would not be just more than 20 people, but more than 20 guilds. Thank you for the invitation, guild leaders. I will give you a ring for free. Knight found a random excuse and gave each guild leader one. Jose already had one, so he didn't give one. Makarov crossed his arms and snorted, free is not okay. You guys just wanted to poach people. Give each of you 1 million J. You scared my kids. Bob got the ring and put it on immediately, and raised his little finger to admire it. It's really beautiful. You are worthy of being a little knight. You are too stingy. Ha ha ha, give money, isn't it just 1 million J? Anything else? Knight, I plan to give one to each wizard in the guild. I need it here too. Of course, I will buy it with money. I won't let you suffer a loss. I like the online commission function very much. The guild leaders laughed and wanted to buy more rings. Knight looked at the old man and whispered, "President, is 1 million too expensive? It's up to you to decide. This is the ring you made. The material cost and hard work can't be in vain." Makarov looked kind and said happily, "By the way, the 10 rings from the council sold for a total of 10 million J. I'll let Mira give it to you later." Knight was shocked. The council members are still rich. There are really fools who spend so much money. After thinking for a moment, Knight still chose to sell it to the guild leaders at a price of 10,000 per ring. He sold it to Phantom at this price, and it was a bit outrageous to sell it to other guilds for 1 million. So, more than 7,000 of the 10,000 rings were sold in an instant. On average, each guild bought 300 rings. However, the payment will be delayed for a few days. After the routine meeting is over, the guild leaders will return and send the money to Fairy Tale. Knight had no objection to this. He currently had nearly 9 million in cash, plus the 10 million given by the council, and more than 70 million from the sale this time. You wouldn't know until you counted it, but you'd be shocked when you counted it. It's almost over 100 million. At this time, the presidents who got the rings logged onto the internet one after another, gathered in groups of 3 or 2, and studied this new magic. Makarov came over and said with a smile, "The new function you added this time is very practical. You did a good job, Knight. You've come all the way here, haven't you had dinner yet? Come on, I'll take you to eat delicious food." Knight followed Makarov to a dining table against the wall. Makarov jumped lightly onto the stool and introduced the food on the table to him. Knight was not polite either, he really didn't eat. "Come on, you're alone. Where are the others?" "Natsu and the others are outside, fighting with Phantom's Iron Dragon." Knight's words were not finished yet. With a bang, Natsu smashed the wall and flew into the banquet. Including the table in front of Knight, 3 tables were knocked over in a row. Makarov opened his mouth in surprise, and his hand, which was about to pour wine into the wine glass, was suspended in midair. Knight had anticipated this scene in advance, and quickly picked up the most delicious dish on the table and escaped. Many presidents who were busy studying the internet cast surprised glances. "What's wrong? Did Eisenwald's people call? Isn't that the fire dragon Natsu from Fairy Tale?" Natsu stood up quickly, turning a deaf ear to the outside world, and his eyes were firmly fixed on Gajil outside the wall. "Damn it, it's not over yet." He opened his mouth to inhale, his cheeks puffed up like balloons, and his fists were clenched in front of his mouth. Fire dragon's roar. Gajil outside the door was not to be outdone, and also breathed out the dragon's breath. Iron dragon's roar. The 2 dragon breaths collided fiercely, and with a bang, the mansion where the routine meeting was held exploded. For a moment, the sky was filled with flames. "Knight. Let me tell you, Eisenwald is a piece of shit, how can he be as destructive as Natsu?" 031 Knight's new move, Earthquake Ball, President Jose's jealousy. A huge explosion occurred in the mansion where the routine meeting was held, and the entire wall in the direction of the main entrance was blown away. Natsu and Gajil's double dragon breath made a mess of the banquet. Makarov opened his mouth wide, his face dull. These 2 were really energetic. Knight commented while eating, "What Aragorn couldn't do, Dragon Slayer easily did. Quick, go and stop these 2. Makarov's eyes went dark, and he had already thought of the scene of himself being scolded by the council. "I understand, President." Knight swallowed the last delicious food, took out a tissue to wipe his hands, and walked out of the damaged wall. Natsu and Gajil seemed not to notice that they had demolished the wall. After a dragon breath fight, they fought from inside the house to outside. The 2 used fists and feet, and they fought with each other, and they became more and more excited. Gray, Lucy, and Happy, 2 people and 1 cat, were still hiding in the distance watching the fight. "Natsu, and Phantom's little brother, can you stop for a moment?" Knight said loudly, but the 2 obviously didn't hear him. They only had eyes for each other, completely immersed in the attack and defense of the moves. It seemed that they were evenly matched. No, although only a little bit, Godjiel had a slight advantage. You are fighting too seriously. I can't understand what you say. Knight raised his hands, and a milky white halo condensed into 2 vibration balls in his palms. Stop. Suddenly, 2 white light balls were thrown out. The 2 people in the fight had no time to pay attention to the attacks from the outside world. When they realized that something was approaching, it was too late. What is this? Godjiel first discovered the white ball from the corner of his eye. He was stunned for a moment and subconsciously wanted to dodge. However, the white ball suddenly swelled, and a compressed vibration was violently released from it. With a bang, the violent vibration swallowed Godjiel and Natsu. In an instant, 2 overlapping pits appeared in the open space in front of the mansion. The 2 who were fighting fiercely just now were lying on their backs. At this time, Makarov and a group of guild leaders followed out one after another, and happened to see the scene of Knight throwing the magic ball. These people are all guild leaders. Although they are old and not active in the front line now, they still have vision. Vibration magic. Compress the power of vibration into a magic ball, and explode after approaching the target. Amazing magic control. This requires very high skills. The guild leaders expressed amazement. It looks simple, but it is extremely difficult to do. Maybe it will explode in your hand before you throw it out, which will hurt yourself. Therefore, the control of magic power needs to be meticulous. Little Makarov, you picked up a treasure. Bob couldn't help but say enviously. Little Knight can not only develop incredible new magic such as the internet, but also is an absolute genius in combat. You don't want to poach people anymore, Makarov said unhappily. Knight walked straight to the edge of the pit and looked at the 2 people in the pit. Are you calm now? Natsu moved his fingers and climbed up with pain all over his body. Knight. What are you doing? It hurts. You 2 almost demolished the mansion for the routine meeting, and you still ask me. Knight was speechless. Natsu looked up and blurted out in astonishment, I did it. Could it be me? Knight thought, how much money will it cost to pay? No wonder Natsu is also a poor guy, he is obviously working harder than anyone else. Godjiel supported himself on the ground with his palms and staggered to his feet. He grabbed his right arm with his left hand and stared at Knight. You are the developer of the internet. Nice to meet you. Knight smiled and nodded. I was a little heavy to stop you from making trouble. Sorry. Quote. Is that a bit too heavy? If it was an ordinary wizard, he would be dead now. Godjiel said in a deep voice. It's okay, I want to ask you a question, I hope you can answer me. Excuse me, I saw a reply about Voldemort in your Magic Network forum. Godjiel took a deep breath. The purpose of his coming here with the president was for this. Who is Voldemort? As the controller of the Magic Network, you should know, right? Knight noticed that he was wearing a silver ring on his finger. For Godjiel's question, Knight certainly couldn't blow up his vest. I also want to know who he is. Didn't you give this person the ring? Godjiel frowned, suspecting that Knight deliberately didn't tell him. I also gave you the phantom ring, and I also don't know what your nickname is on the Magic Network. Knight smiled slightly and said, you want to find Voldemort because of the dragon, right? What he said is true. I have verified it on Natsu. The dragon is indeed in your dragon slayer. Godjiel was shocked and looked at Natsu suddenly. Natsu was climbing out of the pit, and as he climbed, he said, your dragon also left on July 7, 777. You too. Ignir is in my body. Although I haven't seen it again, I can feel it. I believe in Knight. Natsu climbed out of the pit, turned back and stretched out his hand to Godjiel, grinning, you too. Godjiel snorted Tsunere for his help. I will end it with you sooner or later. He climbed out of the pit from the other side. As soon as he climbed out, he saw the President Jose standing in front of him. Go back, Godjiel. Jose cast his eyes on Knight and chuckled twice. Welcome to visit Spectre, Knight. If there is a chance. Knight complained in his heart, maybe one day you Spectre will disband first. He. Then, see you next time. Godjiel dragged his tired body and followed Jose away. Until he walked out of the mansion, he couldn't help but say, President, that person. A very powerful young wizard. The vibration magic just now is probably some kind of super magic, which is quite powerful. Jose recalled the scene just now and objectively evaluated. His eyes are the eye magic that I have never seen before. When Gajil broke the wall in the battle with the fire dragon, Makarov didn't expect it, but Knight was able to react one step ahead and even protected his favorite food. Jose has been paying attention to Knight and captured all kinds of details. The mysterious genius wizard must be dug up. Jose did not have any psychological burden to dig into the corner of fairy tale. This kind of genius wizard should be trained by me personally. Makarov has already half a foot in the coffin. Jose thought indignantly, how can this old guy be so lucky even though he is about to die? ... In front of the mansion, President Gray, Lucy, Natsu, and Happy came to Makarov one after another. Makarov looked back at the ruined mansion and said sadly, the routine meeting will end tomorrow. Let's stay in the town tonight. Just one night, don't demolish the town again. Please, Natsu. Natsu clenched his fist eagerly. Don't worry, old man, if someone attacks, I will beat them away. I am worried about you. Makarov shook his head helplessly. Let's go, Knight. 032 Eisenwald attacks, Zarif's demon. Knight and his friends returned to Kuloba town with Makarov. Considering that Natsu and his friends hadn't eaten yet, they found a restaurant to have a big meal before checking into the hotel. It was past 10 o'clock in the evening. Knight browsed through the books in the library. There are now tens of thousands of books uploaded, including many magic books. Knight remembered that there was a soul-related magic called thought body. This magic can separate a part of one's soul to create a clone. If I can learn this magic, I can leave the work of writing code to the clone, and I can have a day off every day. Knight couldn't help but imagine. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. The thought body clone is like this, just bury your head in writing code at home, and as the original body, you have more things to consider. For example, Jelal, his original body tried to revive the black magician Zirf in the Tower of Heaven. The thought body clone went to the council and became a counselor, and one of the 10 holy magicians. Knight also wanted this kind of convenient magic. Unfortunately, there are no magic books related to the thought body in the library for the time being. However, this was not difficult for him. If he didn't, he would post a reward. Soon, a post was edited and pinned on the front page. 1000 points reward for Soul Magic Thought Body. Closing square bracket. Once the post was posted, it quickly attracted many netizens to post comments. However, this magic belongs to advanced magic and is related to the soul, so it is very difficult to learn. These netizens who posted comments were just joining in the fun. Suddenly, someone sent a private message. Knight, how is the situation over there? Closing square bracket. Knight was stunned for a moment and replied immediately. Sigma man, are you still not sleeping so late? Closing square bracket. As soon as he replied to the message, Knight's eyes froze slightly. He got up and walked to the window. His sight seemed to have traveled a long distance. In the direction of the regular meeting mansion, he saw a lot of magic flowing. The magician of Eisenwald is finally here. With so many magicians gathered late at night, Knight guessed that it should be Aragorn's group. Knight, I saw your post on the forum. Do you want to learn thought body? Closing square bracket. Sigma man, wait a minute, I'll add you to the group. Knight moved his fingers to create a chat group and added Urza, Lucy, Gray, Natsu, and Happy. Group name, food sharing. Sigma man, at all members, Eisenwald's people may be here, in the mansion. Sigma man, Urza, ask them for details. After doing this, Knight turned off the magic net and flew out of the window. Lucy, what group is this? Food sharing. Urza, Lucy, how's the situation over there? Gray, Eisenwald is finally here. I almost fell asleep. Let's go now. Natsu, oh, wait for me, Knight. Let's go. Happy, love. Gray, why do you two live in the same room and communicate in the group? Are you stupid? Group member Natsu is offline. Group member Happy is offline. Group member Lucy is offline. Group member Gray is offline. Night. Closing square bracket. Night. Why is no one answering me? Don't leave yet. Closing square bracket. Night. Rage.jpg. Comma. Late at night, mansion. Aragorn shouldered the scythe of the god of death, flew 100 meters in the air, frowned and stared at the dark mansion building. Where are the people? He noticed that the wall in front of the mansion was damaged, and there were also a lot of traces of fighting in the open area in front. Aragorn couldn't help muttering, "Who got ahead of me? Other dark guilds. Who are they? Where are those hateful guild leaders?" Suddenly, he was shocked and turned around. Behind him, someone appeared. Under the bright moonlight, he could see that the other person was standing in the air. He was a young man. "Who are you?" Aragorn was shocked. He didn't expect that he would be approached to such a distance, and the other person could fly like him. If he was attacked, Aragorn's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. Do dark guilds usually call themselves dark guilds? Knight's tone was subtle. It was like a cult calling itself a holy cult. "I know." Aragorn's eyes flashed. "Did you do this? Are you also a member of the Dark Guild?" Knight shook his head. "I am a wizard of fairy tale." He didn't finish his words. Magic wind palm. Aragorn slapped his palm, and a magic circle was born in the palm of his hand, and a powerful tornado was released instantly from the magic circle. HMPH, trash from a regular guild, get out of here. In the night, there was no one in front. It's too rude to attack suddenly. Can't we have a friendly exchange? Aragorn's eyes were gloomy. He looked up and saw a figure standing in the void, just blocking the full moon. Knight used the bear to spread his hands. "Your opponent is not me, here I come." Pointed down. Aragorn felt a burning magic coming from below, and his face changed slightly. Fire dragons. Natsu suddenly rose from the ground like a flaming arrow. Sword horn. Aragorn couldn't dodge in time, and was hit in the abdomen by Natsu, and immediately vomited the acid in his stomach. Fire dragon's claw. Natsu took advantage of the victory to pursue, with flames wrapped around his legs, and kicked Aragorn down from the sky. "Pa pa pa." Knight clapped his hands lightly and shouted, "Come on, Natsu, you are the man who will become the pillar of fairy tale. It would be too shameful if you can't beat Aragorn." As he said that, he turned his eyes to a hilltop. In front of his 6 eyes, the wizards of Eisenwald had nowhere to hide. He flew over lightly and landed in front of many wizards. "Good evening, everyone." Knight greeted him in a friendly manner, and then noticed that one of the young men was holding a flute in his hand. A dead wood-colored flute in the shape of a skull. "Is that lullaby in your hand? Damn fairy tale. Where are the guild leaders?" Kageyama was shocked and asked with gritted teeth. "Of course he is sleeping. Do you think everyone is like you, not sleeping at night?" Knight answered as a matter of course, and then he used a vibration ball. The vibration ball thrown casually exploded violently in the crowd. Boom! The ground shook, and Eisenwald's group of weak wizards fell to the ground, and only 2 or 3 of them escaped. Kageyama, who was the target, was not spared. Knight walked over and picked up the flute that fell beside him. "The demon created by Zirf. The weakest one, right?" Knight exerted a little force and wanted to crush the flute. But the next moment, the skull of the flute suddenly lit up with a strange red light, and 3 red eyes released black magic. A creepy scream resounded through the mountains, and a huge dark magic circle appeared in the sky. Then, the flute expanded rapidly, broke free from Knight's hands, and turned into a huge demon hundreds of meters high. Faced with all this, Knight was not surprised but happy. He looked up and stared at the magic circle in the sky, as if he wanted to see through the magic secrets of creating demons. Interesting magic. Knight raised the corner of his mouth slightly, and the 6 eyes understood a lot of complex demonology knowledge from the magic circle. 0331 Punch Kill, Return and Prison Breaker. What is that? Such a huge monster. Lucy covered her mouth in shock. Larrabee, who transformed from a flute into a demon, was over 100 meters tall, and his whole body seemed to be made of dry wood, with a big hole in his chest. After it appeared, it roared to the sky, making an extremely unpleasant and piercing roar. It's the demon in Zareth's book. The voice came from behind. Lucy turned around immediately and saw 3 presidents. The person who spoke was Goldmine, the president of Quattro Cerberus. He wore a magic hat and black sunglasses. It is the body of Larrabee, a living magic. Lucy widened her eyes. Presidents, aren't you asleep? Oh, I heard you move and followed you to see. Makarov coughed dryly. Bob explained. Zareth is the most brutal black wizard in the history of the entire magic world. I didn't expect that the negative legacy hundreds of years ago would see the light of day again in this era. While they were still talking, the demon Larrabee ignored Knight and instead locked his eyes on Lucy and the 3 presidents. Annoying wizard. Go to hell. Contribute your delicious souls. It opened its bloody mouth, and the dark magic flowed, covering a radius of hundreds of meters with it as the center. The flowers, plants and trees in the mountains and forests withered rapidly, as if their souls were sucked away. The next moment, a dark magic ray shot out from Larrabee's mouth. Ah! Lucy screamed in fear. The dark ray was like an extremely sharp giant blade, crossing the earth and cutting the surface. When it swept over Lucy and others, Makarov's eyes condensed. In an instant, a huge golden magic circle blocked the front and easily blocked the attack. Boom! In the explosion, fire filled the sky. As expected of a little Makarov, Bob covered his face with one hand and twisted his body like a snake. If you are hit by this attack, you will be finished, and your vitality will be taken away. You don't look nervous at all. Lucy complained in her heart. She was almost scared to death. At the same time, at the feet of the demon Larrabee, Knight broke off a branch from the withered tree. Put the branch between his hands, and the black lightning entangled the branch. Demon creation, Knight whispered softly, and a black magic circle was born on the branch. With the continuous injection of magic power, the branch began to change its shape. It gradually grew hands and feet from an ordinary branch, and it was somewhat similar to Larrabee. When the magic circle disappeared, it was a little Larrabee. However, it would not move. Useless. Lack of soul. Knight threw the failed product aside and thought helplessly, you can learn other people's magic just by looking at it. It's really not enough. He knows nothing about magic involving souls. At most, he can make a doll. While thinking, he looked up at the violent lullaby. Your scream is too ugly. Naife slowly flew up and punched the atmosphere. 1-star air shock. In an instant, cracks spread and vibrations spread through the atmosphere. With a click, dense cracks appeared on Lullaby's body. What kind of magic is this? My body. Larrabee watched his body shatter, just like a building that was accurately blasted, and it collapsed and shattered into pieces of wood on the ground with a rumble. Seeing this scene from a distance, President Goldmine couldn't help but admire. What a powerful magic. Super advanced magic. It's amazing that he can master it so well at such a young age. Makarov smiled and said, vibration magic is not uncommon, but wizards who have practiced to the level of Knight are rare. Lucy was stunned, not knowing whether Lullaby was too weak or Knight was too strong. Maybe both. The next day, the regular meeting was held as usual. However, the battle between Natsu and Aragorn last night brought down the entire building. As a result, the venue had to be moved to Kuloba town. What happened here was soon known to the council, and the forced detention team was sent over at noon that day. All the members of Eisenwald, including Aragorn, were arrested. Thank you very much for your help this time, fairy tale wizard. You're welcome. Knight shook his head and said, I didn't do anything. Aragorn was defeated by Natsu. The other people who tried to escape were caught by Grey. What about me? Lucy couldn't help but point at herself. Happy complained, Lucy, you didn't do anything. Stop talking nonsense, stinky cat. Lucy blushed. It seemed that she really did nothing, just came here for a trip. The captain of the forced detention team couldn't help but laugh. Anyway, thank you for your action. In addition, Sir Knight, can you talk to me for a moment? What's the matter? Knight came to a corner with him. The captain said rather embarrassedly. I heard about the internet magic you developed. the rings for logging into the magic network. I wonder if you can sell me a few rings. Knight took out a small cloth bag with more than a dozen magic network rings inside and handed them to the other party. The captain was delighted and immediately paid 150,000 J. After completing the transaction, the captain immediately greeted everyone with satisfaction. Well, goodbye, everyone in Fairy Tale. I hope next time, you can pay a little more attention to the degree and don't cause too much damage. A group of civil servants escorted the prisoners away. What awaits Aragorn and others is prison life. Watching the people from the council leave, Knight turned to several companions and said, "The routine meeting of the presidents is about to end. Before that, there is still some time, let's disband and do our own activities." After speaking, Knight went to the gift shop alone. When Knight and others boarded the return train, the forced detention unit was escorting the prisoners to the branch of the council in the Kingdom of Fury. Although the charges were clear, the trial process had to be carried out. After the verdict, they were sent to prison. A group of people walked in the middle of the road. Suddenly, the captain raised his hand. "Wait a minute." Everyone stopped and looked ahead of the road. At some point, a girl with her eyes closed stood in front of them. The girl was in her teens, quietly blocking the front of the convoy, motionless. This woman, she is. The civil servants of the forced detention unit changed their faces and took combat postures. The captain hurriedly shouted, "All troops on alert. Meaningless resistance." The girl whispered softly. She had short silver hair with bangs, a blue headband tied on her hair, a circle like an angel on her head, and long gloves on her hands. She slowly took out a golden key, flicked it to her side, and chanted a spell. "Open, Scorpio Gate, Scorpion." Soon after, a team of forced detention was wiped out. The girl stood beside the captain and took a small cloth bag from his waist. It seems that I'm lucky today." The captain raised his head with blood all over his head, and said weakly, "You are Anger of the 6 demons." He tilted his head and fainted completely. 034, Witch of Pain, Urtia, Night, Bad Girl Radar, activated. 4 quarters flowers requested. On the train, there were 4 people and 1 cat when they came, and there was an old man when they returned. Speaking of which, what are the routine meetings about, President? Knight asked curiously. After hearing this, Lucy also cast a concerned look. Makarov was dozing off, and he answered half asleep and half awake. The Guild President Alliance is mainly responsible for conveying the matters decided by the Council, coordinating the opinions of the members of the local guilds, and managing the wizards of the major guilds. Lucy asked in surprise, "Are there still cooperations between the members of the guilds?" There are often such situations, where several guilds unite to attack the dark guilds. Makarov opened his eyes. The dark guilds in the magic world are like stars, and in comparison, the regular guilds are a minority. Lucy showed a surprised expression. "So there are many dark guilds like Eisenwald?" "That's too official, President," Knight said with a smile. "I think everyone is just eating and drinking in a routine meeting, and chatting all the time." Makarov's old face turned red, and he raised a finger to save face. "Ahem. Sometimes it's also an important part of the job for the presidents to keep in touch with each other." "Got it. Eating and drinking on public funds, right?" Knight couldn't help but smile. Is this the truth? Lucy felt that some filter was broken. At this time, a message came from the group. It was the food sharing chat group. "Knight, at all members, how are you doing? Are you okay? Has Aragorn been resolved?" Closing square bracket. Urza really cares about this matter. Lucy smiled slightly, her fingers flew, and she chatted with Urza. "Lucy, it's been resolved, Urza." Closing square bracket. "Lucy, this is what happened." She began to talk about her experience yesterday. Knight sat next to her, glanced at the chat content and didn't care. Suddenly, Knight raised his eyebrows slightly, feeling that the magic power in his body seemed to have broken a key node and was upgraded in one go. Host, Knight, age, 20, race, human, magic. Magic, internet, vibration, photo, 6 eyes, Air dance. Sure enough, the magic power has been upgraded. It has been about a week since the last upgrade to 2 stars. If it can be upgraded at this speed in the future, in a month, his magic power will reach more than 4 stars, the same level as Urza. Maybe it will be faster. This time, more than 7,000 rings have been distributed. If all are activated, 7,000 to 8,000 people will pay me internet fees every day. While thinking, Knight logged into the magic network and opened the post posted last night. The number of replies exceeded 300, and the number of views exceeded 1,000. But among the many replies, no one could take the 1,000 points reward. Until Knight saw a reply. Witch of Pain, Thought Body. To learn this magic, you need very strong magic power. If you really want to learn it, you can add me as a friend and I can teach you. Really? Knight pinched his chin and thought, who is this person? It seems that a new function must be developed in the future. When all users register, the appearance of the other party will be recorded. In this way, as a developer, he can confirm the identity of the netizen at any time. Or, develop a surveillance function that can spy on the appearance of the person on the other side of the network. However, it is meaningless to consider these now. Knight pays attention to the nickname of the other party. Witch of Pain. Such a sad name. Compared with the magic of the thought body, Knight is more curious about this netizen. Thought body, if it doesn't work, he can ask President Makarov. I don't know if the president can do it, but I think he should be able to do it. After all, the magic that President Jose of Phantom knows, there is no reason why the old man can't know it. With a flick of his finger, Knight added the other party as a friend. Message. Do you know Soul Magic Thought Body? Closing square bracket. After sending it, it was accepted almost instantly. Then the other party took the initiative to send a private message. Witch of Pain. I am the counselor, Urtia. Closing square bracket. Witch of Pain. You may not have heard of my name, but I have often heard your name during this period, Knight. Closing square bracket. Knight was speechless for a moment. So it was you, no wonder you gave him such a nickname. As for why the other party knew that Sigma Man was him, this was not surprising. This identity is not a secret. If the other party wants to investigate, they can find out by just asking. Sigma Man. So it was Counselor Miss Urtia, hello. Closing square bracket. Witch of Pain. You are welcome. You were able to solve Larrabee last night, which helped our council a lot. Closing square bracket. Witch of Pain. However, unfortunately, those prisoners were rescued and the flute Larrabee was also stolen. Closing square bracket. Knight had a yellow question mark on his face. It hasn't been 2 hours since the compulsory detention team separated from them, has it? Who broke into the prison? As expected of the council, they were played around by Urtia in the original plot. Wait, could it be that this woman did it herself? What's her purpose? Bye. Knight couldn't help but be suspicious. Sigma Man. So, who did it? Closing square bracket. Pain Witch. I don't know. By the way, Knight, this information is still confidential, you better not leak it. Closing square bracket. Pain Witch. If it leaks, I will be in trouble. Closing square bracket. Seeing this, Knight narrowed his eyes slightly. Bad girl radar, activated. What does this woman want to do by deliberately telling him this? Keep a common secret and quickly close the distance between each other. Her target is me. Sigma Man. Don't worry, Miss Urtia, I'm very tight-lipped. Pain Witch. Yes, Pinky.jpg. Witch of Pain. Let's talk about the magic of the thought body. If you want to learn it, you can come to the council house to find me and I will teach you. Sigma Man. Really? But I'm very busy recently and need to improve the internet. After typing this paragraph, Knight curled his lips in his heart. Only ghosts go to the council house, isn't that a sheep walking into the tiger's mouth? At the same time, council house headquarters. In a dim room, a huge emerald green magic circle unfolds flatly. 10 counselors stand around the magic circle. The troops escorting Eisenwald were robbed. What a disgrace. Who did it? We don't know yet. We can only find out after we rescue them and ask them. Larrabee was also robbed. Why is this dangerous magic always robbed so easily? It was like this with Eisenwald before, and it's the same this time. Someone has to take responsibility. Maybe one of us needs to take responsibility. What do you mean, Zikrian? Do you want to put the responsibility on us? No, but in the current situation, if we don't do something, we will definitely be questioned by the higher-ups. Others were arguing about the prison break. Urtia seemed to be out of it, chatting with netizens. Witch of Pain, Knight, you are really a busy person. Do you still want to learn the thought body? Sister will only give you one chance. Closing square bracket. Sigma Man, sister, you might as well come to our guild to teach me. Closing square bracket. Seeing this, Urtia couldn't help rolling her eyes. Witch of Pain, but my sister is also very busy. She is a judge. Sigma Man, okay, I won't bother you anymore. Go and do your thing. Urtia's eyes flashed with shame and anger, and she was furious. Damn it, this kid. 035 Juvia greets on time and develops the second generation of Magic Net Ring. Knight was somewhat wary of Urtia. Through the chat, he felt that the other party had set his sights on him and wanted to trick him into going to the council. Knight found a random reason to end the call and temporarily put the person aside. Turning to enter the library, he found a book like Magic Encyclopedia, through searching and began to cram some basic knowledge about soul magic. The thought body still needs to be learned, and it is necessary to understand the knowledge of soul magic in advance. No words along the way. It was already evening when the train arrived in Magnolia. Everyone left the station, disbanded on the spot, and went home. Knight and Lucy were neighbors, so they walked together. The two walked along the river, and Knight was close to the river. Seeing him concentrating on browsing the magic book, Lucy couldn't help but remind him. If you don't look at the road, be careful not to fall into the river, Knight. My eyes can see all directions. Knight laughed and continued to study magic knowledge seriously. The magic of 6 eyes. Lucy noticed Knight's eyes and felt that they were very beautiful. Can I learn this kind of magic? No, Knight shook his head. This is not because he kept it for himself and was unwilling to teach it to others. It is because the inherent magic, 6 eyes, is a reward given by the system, not the native magic of the fairy tale world. Even if he teaches it to others without reservation, others will not be able to master it. Back home, Knight walked into the bathroom and put on hot water to take a bath. Even when he was taking a bath, he was still reading the Magic Encyclopedia. Before going to bed, Juvia sent a private message. This obedient girl would send him a private message on time every day. The content of the chat between the two sides was roughly like this. Morning. Juvia, Lord Knight, good morning. Closing square bracket. Sigma Man. Morning. Closing square bracket. Noon. Juvia, Lord Knight, good afternoon. Have you eaten? Closing square bracket. Sigma Man. Good afternoon. I have eaten. Closing square bracket. Evening. Juvia, Lord Knight, good evening. Closing square bracket. Before going to bed. Juvia, Lord Knight, good night, moon.jpg. Closing square bracket, comma. More punctual than an alarm clock, sometimes Knight is very helpless. He is cute and stupid, and he can't even chat with him. However, today's private message is a bit new. Juvia, good evening, Lord Knight. Closing square bracket. Juvia finally sold all 400 rings today. Closing square bracket. It is obvious that she is seeking praise. Knight will naturally satisfy her little wish. Sigma Man, Juvia, you are really capable and helped a lot. Closing square bracket. Juvia is very happy to help Lord Knight, blushing.jpg. Closing square bracket. Juvia is still outside to perform the task assigned by the president. After the task is completed, she will go to Lord Knight as soon as possible. Closing square bracket. Juvia, by the way, Lord Knight, I saw on the forum that you want to learn the magic of missing body. Closing square bracket. Juvia, there is a magic book about this magic in the library of the ghost. Juvia will secretly take it and give it to you. What a good woman. Knight didn't know whether to laugh or cry. She stole the magic book of her own guild and gave it to someone else, and it was Fairy Tale who was at odds with Phantom. What would the expression of President Jose Porla be when he found out? Sigma man, don't do that. It will be very troublesome if your president finds out. Juvia, is Lord Knight worried about me? Juvia is so happy, but I will be careful. I will never be exposed. Cute.jpg. Knight didn't know what to say about this. Afterwards, the two chatted for a few more words, and Juvia said goodnight on time. This girl has a very regular bedtime every day. The next day, at 9 in the morning, Knight walked into the guild, and the tavern was still very lively. Good morning, Knight. Good morning, Mira. Mirajan was still as usual, wearing a red dress, with her hands clasped in front of her naturally, and a warm smile on her face. The poster girl is so beautiful. Every time he sees her, Knight's mood will get better. Mira is completely above his aesthetics. He sat down at the bar and said, Mira, have all the commissions been synchronized? It has been completed. I sorted them into several different types according to the content of the commission. Mira replied with a smile. Knight opened the internet and entered the online commission section, and then entered the subsection of the guild Fairy Tale. Unlike the empty situation when the update was just started, the commission section is now full of commissions. And according to the different commission contents, it is divided into several types. Searching for objects, subjugation, collection, magic, etc. It's clear at a glance. No matter what type of work the guild members want to do, they can easily find suitable commissions. They can even be ranked according to the level of remuneration. At the bar, Makarov said with a smile. It's so convenient, Knight, and of course Mira, you've done a great job too. The old man sat cross-legged on the bar, holding a wooden staff in his left hand and a glass of beer in his right hand. Mira said with a smile. This is all Knight's credit, I just did a little insignificant work. Knight shook his head. Mira, you are the biggest contributor, I just developed a platform, and you will have to work hard to maintain the guild commission section in the future. Makarov looked at them and thought that the two of them were quite a good match. Knight, what new features are you going to develop next? The old man was looking forward to the internet more and more. Knight thought about it, and didn't have a good idea for a while. It's not that he doesn't know what to develop, but he wants to do everything and doesn't know what to do first. Secondly, he wants to learn the thought body first, and then let the clone write code to free his hands. In the pursuit of slacking off, Knight is tireless. President, do you have any good suggestions? He simply asked others to see what users need. Makarov pondered for a moment and asked, is there any way to make your magic available to ordinary people? Ordinary people. Knight fell into deep thought. The current internet login, that is, the silver-white magic ring, requires magic power to activate and will bind to the first object that inputs magic power. How should ordinary people use the internet? Magic props that do not require the user to input magic power are very common. A large part of the goods in the magic store are of this type, and the magic power required is provided by the magic crystal inside. It is not difficult to modify the magic ring to achieve this. But the problem is that the internet needs to be bound to the user, and the condition for binding is the user's magic power. How does the magic crystal complete the binding? Unless the binding condition is changed. Seeing him thinking, Makarov said, now commissions can be accepted online, but the client does not necessarily have to be a person with magic power. If you want to issue a commission, you still need to come to the guild. If even ordinary people can use your magic network, they can directly connect with Mira online, and it will be easier to issue commissions. Can you do it? If you have any questions, you can raise them, and I will help you think about the solution. As soon as the voice fell, the new task of the system popped up. Task: based on the magic ring, develop a new internet login that ordinary people can use. Closing square bracket. Reward depends on the completion of the task. Closing square bracket. It is another triggered task. With the experience of the last time, Knight was not surprised this time. Scanning the content of the task, Knight nodded immediately. The biggest problem is how to bind the user. President, change the magic binding to soul binding. Is this feasible? 0363. Magic. Guild group. Knight and Mirajan are in love. Soul binding. Yes, there must be binding, otherwise the magic network cannot determine whether the person who logs in is the account owner. Hearing Knight's words, Makarov also understood. The internet is your magic, and I still can't understand its principles. Makarov has studied rings and knows about magic binding. But he can't understand the magic of the internet itself. The magic principle is a black box to him. So, you ask if soul binding is possible. I don't know. You can only find the answer yourself. Makarov patted his butt and stood up. Come with me, I'll take you to the second floor. I can't help you with other things, but I can teach you about soul magic. As he said, the old man put down the wine in his hand and walked up the stairs to the second floor. Knight couldn't help but look at Mira. Didn't you say that non-S-class people are not allowed to go up to the second floor? Knight, this is your second time, you are a special case. Mirajan smiled at first, then her expression became serious. But don't take S-class commissions randomly, it's very worrying to do it like last time. Don't worry, it won't happen this time. Knight smiled. Now he is a rich man, he doesn't want to go to work even if he is asked to. He just wants to slack off. After hearing Knight's verbal assurance, Mirajan resumed her smile. On the second floor, the president took him into the guild library. Here are some precious magic books. While introducing, he walked to a row of bookshelves. Makarov wanted to take a book from the top, but he was too short, and he couldn't reach it even if he jumped up. Knight thought the old man was a little cute, and wanted to laugh but had to hold it back. President, how about I do it? Almost sprained my waist. Makarov's old face turned red, and he flew up in anger, and then took out 5 magic books from the bookshelf. This is a magic book about the soul. After you have mastered all of them, you will be considered an entry. Handing the book to Knight, Makarov held his waist and said, I have also read your posts on the forum. Read them first. It will be more helpful for you to learn the thought body. Thank you, President. Knight happily flipped through the books, each one was thicker than the other. Soul and Magic Power and Magic. The Secret of the Soul. Detailed explanation of the basics of soul magic. Magic Encyclopedia Soul Magic. The Origin of Life. The Power of the Soul. Just read it on the second floor, the first floor is a bit noisy. Makarov said with a smile, and then added worriedly, don't mess around, Knight, don't touch the S-level mission. If it was Natsu, he would never let the other party step on the second floor. But Knight is a good boy, so he is more at ease. Fairy Tail deliberately moved the bulletin board for S-level commissions to the second floor because there are too many troublesome guys in the guild. If everyone is honest, there is no need to distinguish them. Holding 5 thick magic books, Knight walked out of the library and came to the tea room at the foot of the stairs. Although it is called a tea room, it is not a separate room. There are just a few chairs and stools in the corner. Next to it is the bulletin board for posting S-level commissions. Knight was too lazy to take a look, and sat down by himself and began to read 5 magic books. If you don't understand anything, you can ask me at any time. The old man said kindly, and then went downstairs to drink. Got it, President. After Makarov left, Knight was the only one left on the second floor. He took out the magic prop, wind song glasses, he bought before and started a long reading journey. Needless to say, the function of this prop can make people finish a book quickly. Without being disturbed, Knight finished the first book in less than 2 hours. He took off his glasses and recalled the contents of the book. The glasses worked fine, equivalent to reading for 70 or 80 hours. I read too fast, and I don't understand some of the knowledge. I have to read it again. He was fascinated by it and read until the evening. It was not until Mirajan came to the second floor that Knight noticed the time. It's so late already. Knight was surprised. Magic is really interesting. He didn't study so hard when he was preparing for the college entrance examination in his senior year of high school. Yeah, everyone has left. Mira smiled. Knight, your concentration is really amazing. Knight closed the book, and then noticed that Mira was holding a rag in her hand. The poster girl is the last one to leave every day, and she has to clean up before leaving. She is also the first one to come in the morning, and sometimes she will prepare delicious breakfast for him. Let me help too. I can do it alone. Knight walked over, snatched the rag from her hand, and smiled. Please treat me to dinner next time. Haven't I always treated you to dinner? Mira smiled. She was very happy that Knight was willing to help. I mean, go to a restaurant outside. My food is not delicious. Mirajan pretended to be angry. How could it be? Knight said helplessly. I'll treat you to dinner, is that okay? The last person he treated to dinner was Juvia, although she didn't pay. Okay, it's not easy to let you treat me to dinner. Mirajan covered her mouth and laughed secretly. Next, the two chatted while cleaning the guild. Afterwards, Knight sent everyone back to the girls' dormitory. To be honest, he was quite curious about what the girls' dormitory looked like inside. Unfortunately, even in the magical otherworld, there are still characters like dormitory managers. Good night, Knight. Good night, see you tomorrow. After saying goodbye to Mira downstairs in the dormitory, Knight returned to the apartment. As a result, when he returned home, the guild group had already started gossiping. Fairy tale love each other chat group. Levy, everyone listen to me. Breaking news. Breaking news. Closing square bracket. Jet, what's wrong, Levy? Closing square bracket. Troy, what happened? Closing square bracket. Levy, I was just in the dormitory preparing to dry clothes, and I saw Knight sending Mira back to the dormitory late at night. Closing square bracket. Levy, it's so late, it must be that they just finished a date. Closing square bracket. Happy, there's a relationship. Alzak, I should at Mira Jane at this time. Closing square bracket. Warren, such explosive news. Could it be that the poster girl of our guild is finally going to fall in love? Redis, sure enough, I was right last time. Proud.jpg. Gray, what? Knight and Mira are getting married. Closing square bracket. Kana, what? At Levy, did they kiss? Did they kiss? Closing square bracket. Levy, it's late, I can't see it clearly, but I don't think so. Closing square bracket. Kana, Mira is really something. She didn't even give a kiss to the gentleman who sent her home. That's too much. If I were Knight, I would be angry. Closing square bracket. Kana, at night, don't cry, Knight, pat your head.jpg. Mira is a pure girl who has never had a boyfriend, she is so stupid. Closing square bracket. Knight came home and happened to see Kana at him, and he was speechless at the time. These people really love gossip. Wait, Mirajan should be the one who loves gossip the most, right? Faced with this situation, Knight would definitely not show up. His appearance would only make this group of people more excited. Turning off the group chat, Knight continued to study the magic book. Similarly, in the girls' dormitory, Mirajan was taking a bath while lurking in the chat group to peek at the screen. Looking at the gossip in the group, she didn't dare to speak at all, but just blushed and buried her nose in the bathtub shyly. Subscribe to Chinese Novel Audiobook YouTube channel. A little gossip did not affect Knight's daily life. It took 3 days. With the help of Feng Yang's glasses, Knight finished reading the 5 magic books. It was not a simple read, but an understanding of the content of the book and a thorough memory of the magic knowledge in it. For how to use soul binding, I already have my own ideas. It's not far from completing the system task. In addition, there are greater gains in these 3 days. As the presidents of various guilds returned to their own guilds and distributed the magic rings they bought to others, the number of registered people on the internet quickly exceeded 5,000. In contrast, Knight's magic power surged again. Magic power. 037 Fairy Tales S-Class. Mistogen and Laxus. My magic power has increased again. Is this what it feels like to make a profit? It feels so good to upgrade while lying down. This upgrade was a few days earlier than Knight expected, thanks to the explosive growth of internet users. Looking at the increasingly lively forum, Knight felt satisfied from the bottom of his heart. At this rate of improvement, it won't be long before I can become a 10th saint. 10 Wizard Saints is a title awarded by the Magic Council, and its strength far exceeds that of ordinary Guild S-class wizards. The number of people is fixed. If you want to become a 10th saint, you have to squeeze one out. Forget it, it's just an honorary title after all. As 10th saints, the weakest and the strongest are completely different realms. Let's go and complete the system's tasks first. Knight tidied his instrument and went out. He didn't go to the guild, but walked into a magic shop and bought some magic tools for modifying the ring from the shop. It cost 200,000 J. After that, he returned home and artificially modified the magic ring based on what he had learned from reading books in the past few days. The main thing was to add a kind of soul magic to it. When ordinary people use the ring, they will absorb a trace of the object's soul and use it as a unique mark. After working for more than half an hour, the transformation was finally completed. Done. However, the system did not pop up a prompt to complete the task. Knight was a little confused. He read the task introduction again. Task: based on the magic ring, develop a new internet login that ordinary people can use. Closing square bracket. Develop a new, so the transformation does not count. Knight thought about it and put the transformed ring away first. I have to find an ordinary person to test it. If it goes well, I will buy some basic magic materials and rub one by hand. Arriving at the guild, Knight saw Urza. After a few days of rest, her injuries have finally recovered completely. At this time, she stood in the hall with her hands on her hips, like a squad leader. I'm telling you guys, you're addicted to the internet every day and don't work hard. You can't go on like this. Kana, do you drink directly from the barrel? It's daytime now. Vegeta, if you want to dance, go outside. Wakaba, the cigarette butt is about to fall to the ground. What cards do you need to think about for so long? Macau. Urza suddenly fell silent and sighed, The people she named seemed to be paralyzed by magic, and their expressions were stiff. What do you say to me? Macau couldn't help but complain. You are really a bunch of children who never grow up. Urza held her forehead and shook her head. I'll spare you today, I don't want to nag too much. Haven't you finished nagging? Knight stood at the door and thought it would be better for him not to go in now. Just wanted to turn around. Knight. Urza called his name. Knight paused. Hey, Urza, you've recovered and look very energetic. I'm relieved. Thanks to you, I've been lying in the infirmary for a week. Urza's eyes were burning, and Knight immediately had a bad premonition. Sure enough, it came true the next second. Anyway, spar with me again, this time I'm serious. Is there any integrity between people? How can you trust a girl's words? Urza's mouth corners slightly raised, and seeing Knight's expression of annoyance, she smiled again. It's just a joke, I won't regret what I promised you, but why did you run away when you saw me? It hurts me, come and have a drink together. You just kept talking about Kana drinking in broad daylight. Knight looked helpless and had to walk over. The two sat at the bar, but Mirajan was not there. So, Urza went to the wine rack to get a bottle of wine and poured a glass for each of them. Thank you for the last time. You're welcome. Knight took the wine glass and drank a little. Urza obviously doesn't drink much, and she couldn't help frowning after drinking the red wine in the glass in one gulp. I don't know why Kana likes to drink so much. She was confused about this. Thanks to you, the Dark Guild Eisenwald failed, otherwise the presidents would be in danger. Hearing her say this, Knight couldn't help rolling his eyes. Should I say that she doesn't respect the president, or that she respects the president too much? Suddenly, a wave of sleepiness came. Knight's eyelids trembled slightly, and his eyes suddenly focused, seeing a figure walking in at the guild gate behind him. As the other party entered the guild, a drowsy atmosphere filled the tavern. This feeling, Urza's body shook. The rest of the people in the guild tavern fell down one after another, lying on the table without moving. Some fell asleep directly on the ground, and some even snored on the spot. Makarov, the president of the guild, who was sitting on the railing on the second floor, nodded his head up and down. Mistogen. Makarov narrowed his eyes and whispered softly. At this time, Urza finally couldn't hold on, and the wine glass in her hand fell off her hand and rolled on the bar, and the whole person slid softly to the side. Knight had to hold the other party to prevent her from falling to the ground. At the same time, he turned his head slightly and locked his eyes on the person who came out of the door. The person wore a black hat, a green mask, a black cloak, and 5 magic wands on his back. Only his eyes were exposed from head to toe. It seemed a little surprising that someone was not asleep, and Mistogen couldn't help but look at him. The two of them met each other's eyes. Who is this person? Mistogen was a little confused, but he didn't come forward to communicate. He walked straight to the task notice board, quickly tore off a commission, and then turned and left. Wait a minute. Knight called him in time. You are a senior in the guild, one of the S-class wizards, Mistogen, right? Mistogen stopped, turned his back to Knight, and nodded slightly. Sorry, for some special reasons, I don't want others to see it. I know, Jello next door. Knight chuckled and took out a magic ring. I'm a newcomer, Knight. This is my internet magic. Wear it, and you can directly accept commissions online in the future, without hypnotizing people every time. Can you come and get it? I'm holding Urza, and it's not easy to move. Hearing this, Mistogen hesitated. Turning his head slightly, he looked at the bar with the corner of his eye. Knight sat in front of the bar, holding the sleeping Urza with both hands, and it was indeed not easy to move. Being able to stay awake in front of his hypnotic magic, it seems that the guild has another powerful wizard. Mistogen thought, and whispered. Throw it over here. With a whoosh, Knight threw the ring over, and Mistogen caught it accurately. Thank you. Although he didn't know what internet magic was, and how to accept commissions online, Mistogen still thanked him politely. After nodding slightly to Knight, he left. As he walked out of the guild gate, the sleep magic was immediately lifted. Urza woke up suddenly and found herself falling into Knight's arms. Sorry, Knight, you saw my embarrassing side. She rubbed her temples and sat back in the chair, then suddenly reacted and said in surprise. Knight, how did you stay awake just now? I was almost hypnotized. Knight smiled slightly and put the overturned wine glass back in place. If it was 3 days ago, he might have been hypnotized. But in the past few days, he has learned the basics of soul magic and has 6 eyes. He was able to react immediately and use his magic to resist Mistogen's sleep magic. Amazing. Urza was amazed and explained, that guy is Mistogen. Every time he comes back, he will hypnotize the guild members. Probably only the president knows his true face. As soon as the voice fell, a teasing low laugh came from the second floor. No, I know too. Knight looked up and was not surprised by the existence of the person above. He had discovered the other party long before entering the door. Hello, senior. Knight chuckled and greeted. Laxus. Urza frowned. On the second floor, Laxus pressed his hands on the wooden railing, just glanced at Urza, and then cast his eyes on Knight. I really saw something interesting when I came back this time. You are good to stay awake in front of Mistogen's sleep magic. Why not join my Thunder God? Knight noticed the ring on the other party's finger, and it seemed that he had registered for the internet. I have to say that I am lucky today. Fairy Tale's 5 S-class wizards, except Mirajan and Urza. The remaining 3, I met 2 of them today. Laxus, I don't like working. Thank you for your invitation, but I refuse. Really? Laxus raised his eyebrows, with lightning flashing in his hair. I heard that you beat Urza, why don't you fight me too? Let me see your strength. 038, 0 Emperor, Leon, I beat 4S level. 4 quarters flowers. Knight naturally refused Laxus's invitation to fight. But before he could speak, Urza had already said. Laxus, if you want to fight, I can accompany you. Huh, Laxus looked unhappy. What does this have to do with you, Urza? As he spoke, the electric light around him became more and more obvious, making a hissing sound of electricity. Urza looked firm, and didn't say a word, but her attitude was in place. Although they had only known each other for a short time, Urza could clearly feel that Knight was a person who didn't like trouble. Fight with Laxus. Knight would definitely refuse. And after refusing, Laxus might forcefully attack. In this case, she had to stand up. Don't stop, Laxus. At this time, Makarov spoke, the guild is not a place for fighting. If Knight agrees, you can find an open place to fight. Hearing this, Laxus made a tisk sound and reluctantly restrained his magic power. In a flash, the man disappeared on the second floor. After he left, Makarov said, "Don't worry, Knight, this kid just doesn't know how to communicate with others, he's not bad by nature." "I don't care, President." As he said that, the ring flashed. Knight opened the internet and found that it was a friend request. Laxus applied to add you as a friend. After passing, the other party immediately sent a private message. Laxus, the old man is a bit annoying, come to the East Forest, I'll wait for you. Closing square bracket. You kid must fight. Knight thought about it and replied. Sigma man, you wait. Closing square bracket. Although it's a bit troublesome, he plans to beat Laxus up and use the friendship punch to teach him how to communicate with others. As for whether he can win, he will win. Just as he got up, Mirajan suddenly walked out of the reception room. Knight, what's wrong? Mirajan said, didn't you accept an S-class commission before? Galuna Island. Is it the evil film that appeared again? Knight immediately reacted and asked speculatively. Yes, the villagers over there just contacted me and wanted to ask you to go again. Mirajan nodded. Hearing this, Knight couldn't help scratching his head. It seems that if the moon drop ritual is not resolved, this evil will continue to appear, and the evil film will condense over the island again and again. When he took the commission reward, he promised to handle after sales. Now it's after sales service. I know, you reply to them, I'll leave immediately. Knight nodded. Urza interrupted and said, S-class commission. She was a little surprised. She didn't expect that Knight, who is not an S-class wizard, had completed an S-class commission. But from what Mirajan said, it seemed that something went wrong. Before, Mirajan explained briefly. After listening, Urza nodded seriously. Knight, I will accompany you. You helped me deal with Eisenwald before, now it's my turn to help you. Knight. He actually wanted to say that he didn't need help. But seeing Urza's serious expression, it seemed inappropriate to refuse. Thank you for your help. Then, Urza, let's meet at the station. Leaving this sentence, Knight immediately left the guild. After walking to the door, he sent another private message to Laxus. Sigma man, sorry, let's spar next time. Closing square bracket. Laxus, you want to run. Are you a man? I misjudged you, Knight. Closing square bracket. Knight, if he doesn't explain this, he is not a man anymore. Sigma man, I didn't handle the S-level commission before, and now I have to deal with some tales. Closing square bracket. Laxus, do you think I will believe such a boring excuse? If you are a man, come to the Eastern Forest. Closing square bracket. Sigma man, believe it or not, I will beat you up when I come back, pouting.jpg. Laxus, where is it? Sigma man, closing square bracket. Laxus, I'll go with you. Once you've dealt with your commission, come fight me right away. Closing square bracket. Knight, why do you all like to be so lively? Soon after, outside the train battle in Magnolia. Urza and Laxus looked at each other and looked at Knight. Why is he here? Urza frowned. Laxus, haven't you given up yet? I want to ask, what are you doing here, Urza? Laxus glanced at Urza's back, where a cart was piled with luggage, and laughed. Are you going to travel somewhere? You don't have to come with me. Knight spread his hands like a little bear, speechless. You two S-class wizards, don't you have your own business? The train is here. Laxus obviously wouldn't listen, and walked towards the train first. Don't worry, Knight, I'm on your side. Urza patted Knight's shoulder and clenched his other hand. The two stubborn people didn't listen to him at all. Forget it, let's go. Just as he was about to step onto the train, the ring suddenly flashed again. Knight opened the private message. It was Juvia. Juvia, Lord Knight, I'm already in Magnolia. Closing square bracket. Juvia will go directly to the guild to find you now. Closing square bracket. Oh my god, another one. Knight had no choice but to reply. Sigma man, I'm at the station. Closing square bracket. Juvia, Lord Knight knew I was coming, so he came to the station to pick me up. Juvia is so touched. Shy.jpg. Use your love brain to think about it. How do I know which day and which train you are on? Knight complained in his heart. He expanded the perspective of the six eyes, instantly saw through the entire station, and soon found Juvia. Urza, you get on the train first, I'll go find someone. After saying that, he left quickly. Juvia is here, it's not right not to meet her. After a while, Knight found Juvia. The girl was standing outside the station, looking around. Suddenly she saw Knight and waved at him with surprise. Lord Knight. Juvia ran over excitedly and handed the magic book in her hand to Knight immediately. This is the magic book Juvia stole. President Jose didn't know and it wasn't exposed. You really stole it. Knight didn't know whether to laugh or cry. And these. Juvia handed over another bank card. This is the money from selling the ring, a total of 8 million J. You keep half, why give it all to me? Juvia has her own money. It was too hot, and the pressure of love brain was so great. Knight had to put the card away, thinking about returning half of it to her later. Lord Knight. At this time, Juvia blushed and said shyly, Juvia hasn't eaten yet, can I invite you to dinner? As she said that, she remembered something. The last time Knight invited her to dinner, she didn't pay. Juvia will pay. Afraid that Knight would refuse, she quickly added. Knight's mouth twitched slightly, and he coughed dryly and said, I'm going to. He explained the commission. The train is about to leave, so. Can Juvia come with us? Juvia's eyes sparkled, and she was eager to try. Being able to take the train with Knight and go to other cities to complete commissions is simply a holiday trip. Juvia's face was full of two words. I want to go. Knight opened his mouth and was speechless for a while. Isn't he just going to solve the moon drop ceremony? Are all three of you S-class wizards going to come with you? What would Zero Emperor Leon's expression be if he knew? Oh, no, including myself, it can be said that there are 4 S-class. Hey, let's go then. 039 Space-Time Magic, Flying Thunder God. Woo woo woo. The train whistle sounded, followed by the clang and clang of wheels rolling over the track. Car No. 6. Knight and Laxus sat on one side, and Juvia and Urza were opposite. The atmosphere was a little silent, and no one spoke. Knight took out a bunch of magic materials, and in order to complete the system task, he was rubbing a new ring with his hands. Why did the S-class wizard of Phantom come with you? Laxus spoke first, staring at Juvia with hostility. As sworn enemy guilds, it is normal for them to be hostile to each other. The delicate relationship between Knight and Juvia is an abnormal situation. Juvia sat upright, with her hands on her knees, and her eyes occasionally stole a glance at Urza. Fairy Queen, Urza Shukalit. So concerned. What is the relationship between this woman and Lord Knight? Why is she here too? Is she a love rival? I really want to ask. Is there something on my face? Urza noticed her awkwardness and couldn't help but ask. She was also well known for Juvia, the rain girl of Spectre. No, nothing. Juvia still didn't dare to ask. It's really interesting. I didn't expect to be on a mission with Spectre's wizard. Urza smiled. Her attitude was more friendly, probably because Juvia didn't show hostility. As for why she showed up, Urza looked at the busy Knight and asked. Is your S-level mission so difficult? Do you need to find external help? Quote. It's obvious that you came here by yourself. Knight didn't even raise his head. You all know each other, so I don't need to introduce. Anyway, she will act with us for the time being. Whatever you want. Laxus didn't say much, just complete the commission and fight me seriously. He wanted to subdue Knight and let him join his Thunder God team. And if you want to subdue the other party, the first step is naturally to defeat the other party. How to distinguish the big and small kings without a fight? In fact, before returning to the guild, Laxus already knew about Knight's existence. Internet magic is spreading so fast now that it's hard for him not to know. After returning yesterday, he got the ring as soon as possible and studied the internet seriously. After using it himself, Laxus was amazed and his intention to recruit Knight became more determined. Got it. But you can't beat me. Knight smiled and continued to rub the ring. Laxus grinned. I like powerful wizards. If you can beat me, I will recognize you. Okay, don't talk to me first, can't you see I'm busy? What are you doing? Making a magic ring. Magic web ring. Laxus crossed his arms and glanced at the magic materials in front of Knight. Are those rings handmade by you? I guess so, but this one is different. This one is the second generation. It needs to allow ordinary people to use the magic web smoothly. After a casual reply, Knight continued to make it with full concentration. Laxus looked at it for a while and couldn't watch it anymore. You will cause the magic crystal embedded in the ring to leak too much magic power if you do this. It's too rough. You can do it. Knight looked up in surprise. When I was a kid, I often disassembled some magic props manually. Give it to me, I'll do it. Laxus couldn't bear to watch it anymore, so he took the tool from Knight. Knight was relieved. Did you really make the ring of the first generation? While grinding the magic crystal and transforming it into the required shape, Laxus complained. The rings you gave to the guild can be called works of art. In comparison, your technique just now doesn't look like a prop master who can make such things. Knight chuckled and said, you found out that those rings. Don't talk to me, don't you see I'm busy? Laxus snorted in dissatisfaction. Quote. Knight's mouth twitched, and because he took the initiative to help, he didn't bother to argue with him. Urza was stunned to see that the two of them got along well. Knight, tell me about the commission in detail. It's a long story. Knight was about to explain when he suddenly remembered something important. We've already brought 3 people, so we should bring Grey with us. The one who performed the moondrop ceremony on Galuna Island was Grey's senior brother. Uru, the great magician who froze the demon with his body, was Grey's master of magic. Forget it. Then try to collect Uru's soul. Resurrection, I can't do it now, but it should be no problem to save her soul. Thinking of this, Knight didn't hesitate too much. With 6 eyes that can see through the flow of magic power in everything, collecting Uru's soul is something he can do. But Uru has already lost his body, so it's difficult to resurrect him. Next, Laxus was busy rubbing his ring. Knight chatted with Urza and Juvia. More than an hour passed unknowingly. It's done. Laxus suddenly said, with a hint of joy in his tone, next is your job. I have already figured out the basic shape of the ring. Knight took the ring from him. It was much better than what he did himself. What a skilled worker. It seems that you like to play with magic props. Thank you. Knight smiled and thanked him. He suddenly realized that Laxus had a magic called Shenming Temple, which required hundreds of magic crystals full of lightning magic. If it was destroyed in one go, it could destroy a town. Maybe those magic crystals were all made by him. No wonder he was so skilled. Knight laughed secretly and finished the next task. After a while, a second-generation universal magic net ring was freshly baked. At the same time, the system prompt sounded as expected. Mission completed. Results are being tested. Evaluation. Excellent. Reward. Space-time ninjutsu flying thunder god. It is not the Naruto world, and the reward is being converted. Space-time ninjutsu flying thunder god. Space-time magic flying thunder god. Instantly, a torrent of knowledge poured into his mind. Knight couldn't help but close his eyes and silently digested this huge amount of knowledge. This time, the magic knowledge is much larger than any previous time. The magic involving space-time is the top power no matter which world it is placed in. The complexity is far greater than that of Six Eyes and Gen Gen. After 5 minutes, Knight slowly opened his eyes, and a touch of joy flashed in his eyes. Space-time magic flying thunder god. Its effect can be said to be very simple. Leave a magic circle at the target object, and the caster can instantly move to the position marked by the magic circle. This object can be anything. Not only that, this magic circle will exist forever unless it is destroyed by humans. This is a kind of permanent magic. This reminded Knight of a secret magic of fairy tale, Fairy's Heart. Its essence is also permanent magic, that is, a source of magic that will never run out. Is the reward this time so good? Is it because of the excellent evaluation? In this case, I really have to thank Laxus, thanks to his skilled work. Well, when you beat him next time, be gentler. Thinking of this, Knight couldn't help but look at Laxus beside him with admiration. What's wrong? What's the problem? Laxus felt a chill. Nothing, you did a good job, thank you. Knight smiled and shook his head. Now he has mastered Flying Thunder God. If this magic is engraved in the underlying code of the magic internet, he will not need to learn teleportation magic specifically. Now he can start the Magic Network Express business. 040 isn't your sister very flirty on the internet? There are still a few hours before reaching the destination. Knight didn't waste time, took out the magic book stolen by Juvia, put on Feng Yang's glasses and began to learn the thought body. He turned a deaf ear to the outside world and focused on reading the sage book. Urza, Juvia, and Laxus also opened the internet. No one spoke, and the carriage was very quiet. Near dusk, the train arrived at Harjan. After leaving the train, Knight went to the port with ease. Take a boat from here to Galuna Island. The people who picked us up should be here. Knight found a familiar face among the many boats in the port. Mr. Knight, you are here at last. Are you still a boatman? The son of the village chief. Knight has forgotten the other person's name. My name is Popo. Popo's forehead dripped with cold sweat, and he quickly greeted, get on the boat first, I will take you to the island. Are these also fairy tale wizards? I am Urza. Urza is a very serious person, and has taken this mission as her own business. Knight introduced Juvia and Laxus as he boarded the ship. After hearing that the three of them were S-class wizards, Bobo was overjoyed. It's settled. This time, the devil's curse will definitely be completely solved. Bobo rode hard as they headed to Galuna Island. About 3 days ago, the evil film you destroyed last time appeared again. Today, some villagers' memories have begun to become confused. So we immediately contacted your guild. Knight nodded, not letting go of any free time, and then opened the magic book to study. The thought body is a high-level magic, but he felt that it didn't seem difficult. Don't worry, this time it will be completely solved. It was already night when they landed on the island. Everyone got off the ship and headed to the village under the leadership of Bobo. Juvia looked up at the moon in the night sky. It should have been a bright full moon, but it showed a faint red color when observed here. There is something in the sky. Is that the evil film? Urza also noticed something unusual and nodded. I can indeed feel an evil spirit. Laxus stretched out his right hand towards the moon, with lightning flashing in his palm and making a crackling sound of electricity. Is it over if I destroy that? It's a very simple job. Are you listening in the car? It will appear again after it is destroyed. Knight stopped his action. According to my investigation, someone on the island is performing the moon drop ceremony, and the ceremony must be solved first. Hearing this, Laxus put down his arm and left the team without saying a word. Where are you going? I'm enough by myself. Just go to the village and have a drink, get your spirits up and wait for a fight with me. Knight did not stop Laxus's solo action. After thinking about it, he simply said to Popo, son of the village chief, Go back to the village by yourself and tell the village chief that we will solve it soon. Mr. Knight, I have a name. Popo was helpless. Knight's magic flowed around him, and his feet slowly flew off the ground. You also master flying magic? Urza looked up in surprise. Knight didn't use it during the last sparring. So, she was let off. Not only that, she felt that Knight's magic power had also become much stronger. Sure enough, he was letting her off. She didn't believe that Knight's magic power could increase so much in just 1 week. Knight, Urza clenched her fist and shouted angrily. The previous one doesn't count. It's too much to let you go. When this mission is over, we'll fight again. Knight stood in the air, overlooking the entire island from a high place, and easily found the temple. The moonlight sprinkled down, turned purple through the magic circles, and finally fell on the top of the temple. Is it over there? While thinking, he heard Urza's shout, and felt a little helpless. Do we learn magic just to fight? Can we have some other pursuits? Juvia stood in front of Urza. Juvia will not be silent if you attack Lord Knight. You are here to make trouble too. Knight hurriedly said, the temple is in the north, I'll go first, you guys come slowly. After that, he flew towards the direction of the temple. Urza and Juvia were left staring at each other. I'm just sparring with him. Urza was really convinced. Knight is too good at attracting girls. Juvia's magic power surged, and she thought, a good opportunity to deal with her rival. Juvia won't let any rival go, take it. Fairy Queen. Urza. ... With the air dance technique, Knight didn't have to go through the complex and lush forest and easily came to the temple. He ignored the moon drop ceremony that was going on at the top of the temple. If I remember correctly, Dai Lionra is right below the temple, in a cave. Thinking so, Knight lightly descended and walked straight into the temple. Under the guidance of the 6 eyes, he quickly found the entrance to the cave. A huge cave, the sound of footsteps echoed in the cave. The cave was very deep, and he walked all the way to the deepest part and found the target at the end. I saw a huge demon frozen in ice, and a magic circle unfolded on the ceiling of the cave above the ice. From the magic circle, purple moonlight fell, slowly melting the ice. You can see a lot of water at the bottom of the ice. Of course, this is the perspective of ordinary people. In Knight's eyes, whether it is the accumulated water or the ice that seals the demon Dai Lionra, there are soul fragments inside. The soul of Uru, the ice wizard. There are so many, it will take some effort to collect them. Knight thought to himself, stepped in front of the ice, and gently raised his hand. The moment his palm touched the ice, Knight quickly captured a trace of soul in it. But absolute ice seal is indeed a forbidden magic. He tried to extract the soul from the ice, but obviously failed. It seems that the ice must be melted first. Realizing this, Knight suddenly spoke without looking back. Why do you have to hide when you are here? Ho ho, I should have hidden my breath very well, how did you find it? Behind a rock in the cave, a short man wearing a mask walked out. Fairy Tale Wizard, Brother Knight. Nice to meet you, my name is Urtia. As Knight turned around and looked, he revealed the other party's identity. The man's eyes behind the mask shrank slightly. What are you talking about? Oh, should it be called, Witch of Pawn? Knight's mouth corners slightly raised, and his tone was somewhat playful. Isn't my sister very coquettish online? Thank you for watching. Continue exploring the fascinating world of Chinese novels with us. Hit that subscribe button on Chinese Novel Audiobook to stay updated with our latest stories. And never miss out on a great listen.